brother has taken control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all connected but separated, misunderstood and so frustrated. A million armies of one have invaded, watching you and watching me. We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. We wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere. Watching me. The little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye with the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. We the people have taken over. We the people are little brother, standing by to dethrone each other, watching you and watching me. Paranoid, the lens is our weapon, desensitized in our lust for attention, democratized by our voyeur obsessions, watching you and watching me. Slaves to perfection, don't let them project you as you are. Feel your every flaw. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. We wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye with the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Stay in line, don't make a mistake. We're watching. We watched you for so long. We wait for you to fall. We will expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
Let your experience begin right now. From high atop the mountains of British Columbia to you listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio. You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on Twitter, @SpacedOutRadio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can follow us on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR, or on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride as we are live on Spaced Out Radio.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Said the deeper I go, the deeper I fall.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you along for the ride if you're listening in on spacedoutradio.com, on Spreaker, and on Revolution Radio. As once again, we welcome you to tonight's show as we broadcast out of Uncle Jimbo's cabin right here in the Great White North, live on this Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning if you're on the East Coast. Here at Spaced Out Radio, we do this thing every night of the week as we want to be your official one-stop shop when it comes to the supernatural, conspiratorial, ufological, and so much more. We want to thank our resident guitar god, Ron "Bumblefoot" THAL, formerly of Guns N' Roses, for helping us with our theme music. Bumblefoot is the official sound of SOR. Hey, you can follow us on Twitter, @SpacedOutRadio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, you can follow me at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. Find us on TuneIn. Download our shows from iTunes. And, of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. At this time, we'd like to say hello to everyone listening in on the Revolution Radio chat room, on the High Plains Talk Radio Network, in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker, along with our fans on Facebook at Euphoria Chronicles, Chronicles of the Unknown, Forest Moon Paranormal, and our flagship chat room, the SOR Space Travelers. Have you signed up for the SOR Space Travelers yet? No? Well, you have a few days before we make our next draw. It's only $5 a month, and with that, your name automatically gets entered into monthly prize draws. You get access to private group interviews, access to a special section on our website, and so much more. Hey, we're going to give you a hell of a lot more than just access to our archives. While at spacedoutradio.com, you can read our latest blogs, and you can check out Eric Markham's SOR Spacewire for your latest in weird news. We also have a new feature on our website. The SOR Sightlines Report is here for you. If you have an experience and you want it investigated by our researcher, Mike Schmidt, just fill out the Sightlines Report. We'll get back to you very, very soon. All information is 100% confidential. If you're listening on Revolution Radio, don't forget, the Double R Machine is the largest non-profit online radio station going. Do us a favor, take the time to visit freedomslips.com and donate today. Lorien Fenton is a well-known speaker around the UFO and conspiracy circles. She's a director with MUFON in California and puts on a number of conferences annually that draw the biggest names in their fields of alternative research. She's an incredibly hard worker who has the best interest in getting the message out. The stories she has heard and experienced would literally blow the mind of even the biggest sci-fi fans. Lorien has been on numerous radio shows as a guest and has her own talk shows that delve deep into the black, from super soldiers and black ops to aliens, UFOs, and the hidden agenda that seems to surround the topics at hand. She's connected and well-versed at what she does, which makes Lorien a hot commodity to talk about the subjects at hand. She's on the lookout for the truth, whatever that may be. or whatever it is we fantasize. Lorien, welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you along for the ride.
You have just implicated that I fantasize a lot. I love that about you, Dave.
Well, you know what? I'm a master of words. Master of words.
You are a master of words, and I'm gonna leave it at that. But man, what a great intro! Thank you so much for having me on the show tonight. You know, when you asked me to be on, I thought, you know, everybody hears me all the time. I'm yakking it up here on Revolution Radio, Inception Radio Network, allnews.network. I'm kind of like all over the airwaves, just like you. And I thought, you know, what could we do tonight to really shake up the world? So I thought in the first hour, I'd bring on my friends, James and Joanne Moriarty, and we talk politics tonight. And we talk a little bit about the presidential debate and Hillary Clinton and their take on Hillary, which I know is very, very interesting. And then in the second hour, I'll talk a little bit about myself for a bit, but then we'd bring on Ward Weinheimer. He's the guy who has the alien robot video, which is just blowing the world away. He has some great news to tell everybody tonight about what's happened to him since he appeared on my radio show, and his life has completely changed because of that. So, and I want people to understand, people who are brave enough to come out with these type of videos and take the ridicule, and if it's the real thing, guys, you know, eventually something good will happen out of all of it. And that's why I kept promoting Ward, because I swear to God, Dave, when you see this video, you're just going to go, oh my God. I had all my listeners watching this video, and we realized halfway through the video, the robot part of it was very intriguing, but we discovered the side of a face of a little gray alien and his shoulder, and we realized he was holding the cell phone, actually videotaping what was going on in the room, and then he realized that it was on, and he kind of dropped it on the nightstand. And you can see his body during this, and it's just absolutely mind-boggling. So I hope everybody's braced for impact for that one, because it's going to be very interesting when Ward gets here. And then in the third hour, I'm bringing on my conspiracy buddy, Robert Stanley, who works with a guy by the name of Wes Pengrave or Pengrove. I can't remember. We'll ask Robert. And we're going to talk about the Illuminati and the dark side of the shadow government and that type of thing. So yeah, I got 3 different guests with me as the guest, so it's going to be like a party here tonight, right, Dave?
Why not? More the merrier. What the hell? Let's just throw it all out there. And James and Joanne, thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio. It's a first time for you. I only met you about 3 minutes ago, so thank you so much for joining us on Spaced Out Radio and our great fans that take part in the chat rooms. How are you tonight?
We're doing fine. Thank you for having us on. Thank Lorien very much for asking us.
Yeah, you're welcome, Joanne. You know, what I wanted to do tonight, if it's okay with Dave, is I thought I'd do a little bit of interviewing, and then we'd kind of get Dave all confused, and then he'd have to ask questions.
Hey, I'm just a token Canadian around here, so it's okay with me.
So anyhow, I've known you guys for some time. I haven't spoken to you for a while, but your story really is an amazing story. You guys were in Libya when the horrible takeover happened, and you know quite a bit about the whole Hillary Clinton debacle around that. So if you could, just getting us out of the gate here, could you give us in a nutshell what happened, and just tell us a little bit about why you think Hillary maybe should or should not be president? I just thought I'd put you guys in the hot seat instantly, okay?
We don't mind that. Listen,
opinions.
we've had the best intelligence agencies in the world threaten to kill us, and we've dodged all those bullets, so you don't scare us much.
Great, wonderful. So anyhow, tell people your story, because I'm sure Dave is going, who are these people?
We're business people. We have a proprietary technology, and we build products that rejuvenate oil wells and clean up pipelines and sludge pits and chicken fat and all kinds of stuff like that. And we looked at Libya as a new market, and as soon as the treaty was signed in 2006, we started visiting Libya and signing contracts, booking lots and lots of business. Our first trip in there was January 2007, and we were there 18 times between then and February of 2011, when the false flag takeover of that sovereign nation started. We had booked literally billions of dollars worth of business. We had traveled all over Libya, got to know the Libyan people real well. And everything you've heard about Libya is a lie. Those people were happy. The country had no debt. They had over $500 billion in cash or cash equivalents in the Federal Reserve and in Euroclear. They had a couple hundred tons of gold, 2,000 tons of silver, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and no debt. They used about 49% of their annual income to operate the country. The rest of it was distributed out to the people. And when we were there, they were building 620,000 new condominiums for the people. Libya had the highest average income at about $15,800 a year. That was higher than anything in Africa, higher than India, higher than China. When you got married, the government gave you a gift of $42,000. Each baby you had, you got $5,000, $47,000. Your first car cost you half a dealer invoice. Your gasoline was 44 cents a gallon. Your home cost you 10% of your salary for 20 years, and it was paid. You didn't pay for utilities, natural gas, water, et cetera, were all free. Hospitalization free. If you couldn't get the hospitalization you needed in Libya, the Libyan government paid for you and a family member to travel wherever you needed to go to get your treatment done. Education was fully paid, and if you were going to study outside of Libya, they paid you a stipend along with all your expenses. We knew a young man that was getting his doctorate in England. He had a wife and 4 kids. His monthly stipend was £4,500, about $7,500.
This is a country of 6.5 million people, or it was.
Sounds like they really needed some freedom.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. They needed some democracy.
Yeah, well,
Hillary Clinton style.
Yeah, the democracy we have foisted upon all these countries. Every country that the Zionists have gone into under the auspices of democratizing them are blown up, ruined countries that will probably never survive again. The
thing about Libya, it was it was an Islamic country, but it was extremely progressive. And Gaddafi hated radical Islam. He was not even in charge of Libya when they took it over. That was a big lie. He was required to step down by the 2006 treaty signed by Condoleezza Rice.
Which he did.
He also gave up all his weapons of mass destruction, which weren't even developed yet. He gave up everything he had. He stepped aside. He was happy to do that. Libya had a democratically elected parliament, if you will, a people's Congress, and they also had the tribes, which had the General Secretariat of the Tribes, 250 members. They had 2 houses, the Secretariat of the Tribes and the Libyan Parliament. That ran the Libyan government. They had actually a better form of democracy than we've ever had, because the tribes are all over Libya. Every Libya is a member of a tribe. So if you had trouble, you could go to your tribal leader and he could go to the head of the tribes and try to figure out what they could do for you. It was direct democracy.
Non-confrontational. They don't fight physically about anything. They settle everything peaceably, and that's the tribal way. And if you couldn't come to a peaceful resolution, the 2 conflicting parties would be put into a jail cell together and fed nothing but gruel and camel's milk, and until they could agree to get along, and then they'd be let out. This is the truth.
Okay, now every time you guys tell me this, I start just freaking out, because wouldn't it be wonderful if every country did that?
Let me tell you a great story what Gaddafi did when they had their bloodless coup. When first time in the history of Libyans actually took control of their own country and had some of their own land, owned their own land. There were 2 tribes that had been fighting for probably 50 years, I don't know how long, and they hated each other, but the young people liked each other and they couldn't get along with their parents and all this stuff. So in the middle of the night one night, while they were all asleep, a bunch of Libyans, I don't know who they were, military, came and took all the members of both tribes and put them in a tent in the desert, a huge tent with all the food, water, clothes, whatever they needed. It was a huge tent. And they said, you're going to stay in this tent in the desert until you get over whatever you're fighting about. And when you decide to get along, you can come back. And they left them out there. And to this day, I don't know how long they were out there.
Long time. Hell, 100 days or something.
Yeah, but to this day, they were best friends. Those tribes are now.
That is amazing. So, Dave, what do you think about all this? Isn't this enlightening? Because, James and Joanne lived there, off and on for quite some time, right? I mean, you guys were traveling all over.
2007 till 2011, we were there 18 times, never less than 30 days, sometimes 3 months at a time.
Let me say this, Gaddafi emancipated the women in the 70s.
What?
He emancipated them. They were free to do whatever they wanted. They were in the military. They were lawyers. They were doctors. They were not required to wear any headgear or anything. They just wear it over there. It's a social deal. It's their dress. But Gaddafi doesn't even like the hijab. He doesn't even like the head thing.
Listen, in our travels all over Libya, we never once saw a single store that sold beekeepers' outfits.
You're kidding.
No, women drove. They were entrepreneurs. In fact, the head attorney going against NATO for all the atrocities over there is a woman.
Wow.
And of course, what happened is Hillary Clinton went in there with her agenda to take over Libya because Gaddafi had started a gold-backed currency for the continent of Africa, which would have destroyed the fiat bankers.
This is the reason. This is the reason Libya was invaded and overthrown. Gaddafi saw what a corrupt monetary system the world had, and he said, I'm not going to be a party to it. When we first went in there in January of 2007, we planned to stay 3 or 4 days, and they asked us to stay over because they were really interested in learning about the Western world, and they liked our technology. And we ended up staying about 2 weeks longer. And every night we met with a different government official. But they didn't take credit cards in, and we only had a certain amount of cash, so I had to go get some more cash. Well, their international bank was Western Union. I had to go have some of our staff in the United States take money to Western Union to send it to us. They had no relationship with the Rothschild, Rockefeller banking system at all.
So they had no control over Libya. This is not acceptable to them. You got to be in the IMF. You got to be in debt.
All the crap you heard about Libya, the Lockerbie deal, Libya didn't do that. CIA did. The bombing of the discotheque in London, Libyans didn't do it. The reason that they could be blamed for everything, and this was all an attempt to wrest Libya away from Gaddafi and put it back in the hands of a Zionist puppet. They wanted the oil and natural resources of Libya.
They wanted the geological position of Libya.
Yeah. It's a
gateway. I got to interrupt you guys for just a moment. Dave, do you have any questions for James and Joanne? Because I've got like 20 coming out of my head right now, and I want to do it a little bit of an analogy here, because what James and Joanne are telling us right now, folks, if you're not hearing this, is they're saying the same thing that happened in Oregon at the standoff, what's happening right now with the Indians up in the Dakotas. And you guys, this happens all over the world. Just don't think it's happening here and in one spot with the Bundys. Libya is... Yeah, go ahead, Joanne.
Let me add one thing that we haven't talked about yet, that we went back on a fact-finding commission during the war, and we were trapped there for 100 days in Tripoli and were eyewitnesses to all of her atrocities, all of the war crimes that were committed against Libya. We interviewed many people their kids were killed and burned and chopped up and bombs dropped on them and all kinds of stuff. Then we were captured by Al-Qaeda. Before we could get out, we were sentenced to death, chopped up and burned. We were taken to their torture center, and we were to be killed and chopped up and burned, and that was to be blamed on Gaddafi. 3 miracles got us out of there. And when we got back to the United States without any help of this government at all, we then were attacked by our own government. They soft-killed us, blacklisted us, alienated all our friends and associates, threatened anybody that wanted to help us. They took our bank accounts over. They killed our business. Plant drugs on us. They planted drugs on us. We had the CIA, the FBI, the DIA in our house. Glenn Beck's organization is the one who brought the CIA in. But let me say this. Hillary Clinton could not find enough people for her war in Libya because 85 to more people were happy in Libya. There was about 4% that were radicals. They didn't live in the country because they would be in prison if they lived in the country. Radical Islamists were not acceptable in Libya. So those are the people that she and John McCain and Obama and Sarkozy and all of them joined hands with. And then they brought in 250,000 radical mercenaries to take over the country. And they brought in weapons and arms and money every day. It's the first time in the history of the world that a rebel group was recognized internationally within a week of the rebel fighting, and all the money
that belonged to the Libyan people was turned over to the rebels the first week of their revolution, which was really not a revolution. It was false flag. So you're talking about $500 billion was stolen from the Libyan people by the first week. And, of course, the rebels didn't see much of that. They probably saw some billions, but that went into the hands of the Rothschilds and Rockefellers and the Zionist group, you know, because Gaddafi had started the gold dinar for Africa. That was a gold-backed currency. All the African countries had signed up as members, and half of Africa had signed up as members. All the Arab countries had signed up. So the gold dinar, which was a gold-backed currency for Africa, was a reality. And, of course, the Zionist bankers, Federal Reserve, Euroclear, Rothschild, Rockefellers, they could not have a legitimate currency out there because nobody would use their toilet paper money.
Right.
So they had to kill that, period. And so they went in and attacked Libya, blew it up.
60,000 sorties.
More bombed sorties than World War II combined.
Now, all the rebels could fly around anywhere they wanted. The Libyans were just targets. If they tried to fight back, they would drop cluster bombs on them, depleted uranium bombs every day in Tripoli, on homes, on farms, on power supplies, on water. They embargoed water and food and medicine.
And this attack was set up for years. In the treaty of 2007 that Gaddafi signed with Condoleezza Rice.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you guys again. The 2007 treaty, we were talking about that last time you guys were on the air. So you're telling me this was all planned years before the treaty?
Oh, wait. For 20 years, all the embargoes, everything you heard about Libya, that was all a plan to try to get Libya back. The Treaty of 2006, the Treaty of 2006 required Libya to get rid of its all nuclear enrichment plan. Okay, that was agreed to. They had to get rid of all of their offensive weapons. They did that. They had to get rid of half of their military. That was agreed to, and Gaddafi had to step down as the leader. Those were parts of that treaty. So that little Condoleezza Rice, everybody thinks is innocent. No, she's a piece of garbage, just like Bush and all the rest of them.
Oh, God.
And then along comes
you never mince words, James. I can always trust you never mince words.
I had some other words, something like she can't understand normal things, but I wouldn't say that acronym. But anyhow, in 2009, the next piece of shit that rolls into Libya with a treaty is John McCain. And a second treaty was signed. And in that treaty, Libya had to get rid of another half of their military and all their defensive weapons. They agreed to do that so long as the only condition put forward was that the United States would defend them in the event they were invaded. Well, guess what? The United States was going to be the invader.
That's
right. And not only that, another proof of that is Dennis Kucinich, who was a ranking Democrat at the time, came forward with an hour-long interview where he exposed the plan to take over Libya because the war games, which are done years in advance, were played out in early 2010. Long time before the Arab Spring ever started.
And everything for that.
Oh, my God.
And
got him voted out of Congress for that.
That caused him to be redistricted and voted out of Congress. But in that game, in that war games, 11 warships were going to roll into the Mediterranean. They were going to start with a no-fly zone and all this other stuff, and they were going to use distance from the country and bring in mercenaries and stuff if necessary. And that was to start on March 18th.
Wow.
Of 2011. It started on February 18th.
Questions, Lorien, and
yeah.
How many countries has Libya attacked?
Zero.
But they had to give up all their weapons.
Oh my God! So Dave, go ahead. You're sitting back there awful quiet. You're scaring me, man.
Well, I'm just kicking back and sitting here with a big smile on my face because this is a learning experience for me. I had heard a lot of the stats that James had rattled off about what they were doing for their people and how they were really, really trying to move away from the Rothschild-style banking in regards to it. So in the end, what happened to all the people, all the government dignitaries that were there? Did they get run over? Were they executed?
Oh, they're either killed or in prison. There's 20,000 corpses in the prison in Misrata. Nobody knows who they are.
They've been moved out. But
most of them, anybody that was in legitimate Libyan that was in the government, not a traitor, were all arrested. A lot of them killed. A lot of them tortured. Many of them are still in prison to this day. And
they have no charges against them.
Now then,
they pick up women off the street, rape them. You take them in as sex slaves into the prisons. Young women, they keep them for 5. They've been in there 5 years. Some of them. Here's
the numbers: 6.5 million Libyans in early February 2011. Now then, the numbers more than 1 million have been killed by Hillary Clinton, who the Libyans call her the butcher of Libya. And that was put out in an article by Dr. Jerome Corsi this week, with interviews of the legitimately elected parliament in Libya. That's what they call her. And 1 million people killed. More than 2 million are in exile, because if they come back, they'll be killed. Inside Libya, there's about 3 million. More than 1 million of them are homeless, and the other 2 million live in fear.
They live under the.
It's not only a failed state, but if you can imagine, it's like the Wild West with the bad guys, the criminals, the outlaws, the gunslingers that control Tripoli. And they are supported, financed, and weaponed every day by the U.S.
via Turkey and Qatar. And the interesting thing is, the Libyan army that is fighting ISIS in there, that's trying to cleanse their country of these criminals that are there, these Islamists that are destroying their country, are embargoed from having any weapons by the UN since 2011.
Now,
however, the U.S. is arming ISIS every day there.
The world knows that the U.S. is ISIS. They know that. In fact, Monday, an article came out, or maybe it was Sunday, an article came out that Britain has now admitted that Libya was based on lies from the U.S. intelligence agencies, and all the information they got was false, and it was a big mistake, and it never should have been done, etc. And they're pointing the finger this way. And, all the things that we've been saying for years, when we first said them, after we got back, we tried to tell everybody how wrong-footed the United States was in Libya, and everybody looked at us like we'd been smoking some pretty high-test rope, And the truth was, we saw it.
You want to talk about someone that doesn't give any care, not one care for humanity. It's Hillary Clinton.
Thank you for saying that. And you guys, I brought you on the show tonight for that exact reason. And I hope Dave doesn't mind, but I got off the phone with Dave this afternoon. Or this evening, and I thought to myself, we had jokingly said no politics tonight, right, Dave?
I'll tell you, I am waving my Canadian flag really fast right now, really fast.
Hey, you poor Canadians! Hillary Clinton, all these other liberal bastards, will be moving up there when Trump's elected. Y'all are fixing to have a deep bunch of shit hit your fan.
Well, if that's the case, as long as they're hockey fans and like a good cup of coffee, we're okay. Leave the guns at home.
Yeah, exactly. Well, anyhow, the reason I thought of you guys tonight, and I thank God, I was saying to myself, who in the hell is up this late at night besides me? And I thought, well, I wonder if Joanne and James are up because they really have the goods on Hillary. And I thought of all the political things to do tonight. After the debate last night, I thought, Jesus, we got to inform people that what Hillary's really all about. And I'm not saying, folks, I'm not saying Trump's the best thing since sliced bread. I'm just saying, really, Hillary is a criminal, and these guys have absolute proof of it.
Compared to Hillary, he is a shining star.
Oh, man. Let me give you all some information that you've never heard, that we've offered to every intelligence agency, every commission studied Benghazi and everything. The protection, or the security team that was protecting that house, and it was a mansion. It was a safe house.
Talking about Benghazi,
in Benghazi, where politicians would come and have meetings, and the complex behind it, which is about 3/4 of a mile away, is where all the gun running was done through Libya to Syria, and guns came from the United States and France into Turkey and Qatar, and then it was shifted to Libya, and then Libya on to Syria. And that house was guarded by a radical Islamic group.
Ansar al-Sharia, one of the groups that
one of the most radical you can
John
imagine.
McCain supported in Libya.
And 2 times since that house was rented, and it's a mansion, it was renting for about $10,000 a month, I think. 2 times since it was rented, the security force wasn't there. First time was on the anniversary of their revolution, which was February 18th, and the second time was the day it was attacked. And for all day beforehand, or maybe a day ahead of time, for 5 kilometers around that building, it was blockaded. You couldn't drive in or out of that area.
Roped off.
Okay,
How
so
did that happen?
what are you guys implying here? I'm confused.
Well,
I'm telling you, it was an assassination.
The thing that happened there is that Chris Stevens was a gun runner. He was the gun runner for Hillary Clinton and probably for her husband, who is an arms dealer. He was running the weapons into Libya to start the war and to foment the war and to continue on. He was also running weapons after they took over Libya. Then he started running weapons and trained mercenaries in Libya into Syria.
The CIA had set up 28 training centers in Libya to train radicals to go all over the world and do their bidding.
Well, they're mercenaries. They're proxy army, you know.
Yeah.
But Chris Stevens knew a whole lot about Hillary Clinton and all of her dirty dealings. And something happened in there. I don't know exactly what it is, but I can tell you this. They either had a falling out or he felt like he wasn't going to be part of this anymore. And you know what happens when you're Hillary Clinton's inside person and you're going to rat her out? You know what happens.
Yeah.
So dead men tell no tales.
Now,
and so this was a set-up assassination, and it was organized by Morsi, who was president of Egypt at that time, who was a Muslim Brotherhood, put in there by her. Morsi and the Clintons are 30-year friends. We know this because we got the security report from the Libyan security.
And Morsi was supposedly an engineering instructor in California for years. And he's no more engineer than my dog is.
Yeah, but the Libyan this official report we got from the security in Libya, Dr. Corsi put that out, and that's been read into the congressional record
and ignored.
No, wait! You guys got that read into the congressional record?
Oh,
How the heck did that happen?
About a month after it happened, 2 months after it happened. And that's been
Really?
ignored. Let me tell you something else. The guy that lived across the street from that mansion is the son of one of the tribal leaders. Also, he lives in a nice big house. He was eyewitness to everything. And he was at the little equivalent of a 7-Eleven store behind the house, behind the mansion that Chris Stevens was in, getting some milk and some late-night supplies for his family. And he heard the first gunshot, and he jumped in his car and drove at high speed back to his house. And when he was driving back, coming out the backside of that compound were 2 cars, 2 embassy cars. They didn't have political license plates or anything, but they were the embassy cars. It was full of people. Chris Stevens wasn't in either one of those cars. Now, this was within a minute of the first gunshot. He pulls over into his house. He pulls in, and there's 2 goons outside his portico, his gate, you know. And so he closed the big gate and went out through the little human door, you know. And he looked at these 2 guys. They weren't dressed like Libyans. They had different sounding voice and accent and everything. And he said, "Are you all here to kill us?" And they said, "No, we're here to kill Americans tonight." And so he stood there and talked to them, because if you don't act like you're friends with them, they're liable to slit your throat just because. So he stood there with them the whole time this fighting is going on.
Oh my God!
And this went on and on and on. And after the place started on fire almost immediately.
He said then after they left, the looters came in, and he said then the guys that were standing in the street were going to go in. They invited him to go in. He said, "I couldn't refuse." So he said, "I just followed him in there." He said it was all dark in there. There was a body on the floor, and they were kicking it and urinating on it and abusing
Cussing it and everything.
He said, "I didn't know who it was until they drug it out in the light. It was Chris Stevens."
He was already dead.
But let me tell you something.
God.
Chris Stevens was left because everybody left that compound out the back gate in big cars. And he saw him, and he said Chris Stevens was not in the car. So Chris Stevens, I believe, my opinion is that he was dead long before.
It was assassination.
This was all smoke and mirrors.
Let me give
for
you
the
my
assassination.
opinion. Let me give you my opinion. In
James,
late
can I get your
March,
opinion, James?
I know.
James, what is your opinion on that?
Yeah.
in late March, weeks after the no-fly zone had been established, the United States shipped into Libya 2,000 shoulder-to-air rockets. Now, this is weeks after the no-fly zone had been established. Why in the hell do you need ground-to-air rockets
When there's no fly.
if there's no fly zone? And the U.S. pilots that set that up within 2.5 days said, listen, our job was completed and Gaddafi couldn't get a mosquito in the air. So why 2,000 shoulder-to-air rockets? And Chris Stevens was the guy that was the man that brokered those in there. So now then, the night that he was killed, he had a meeting with the ambassador from Turkey. And the reason for that meeting, and we know that because another one of the Libyan tribal spies was serving him dinner. And Chris Stevens was pleading with that guy to get these 2,000 rockets back. The United States was going to pay a premium to get them all back because it was causing political trouble because the president of Sudan and Niger and Tunisia and all that area said, listen, there's a proliferation of weapons coming out of Libya, and it's dangerous for all of us. And you've got to get these rockets controlled. So my reason... And incidentally, the Turkish ambassador told him to go pound sand. He went out the front of the mansion, got in a fast car, was driven to the military airport, put in a military airplane, and when he landed in Turkey, the two guys that coordinated the fight received a phone call, and that's when they started. Now then, the two guys that coordinated that, there was an offer of Hillary Clinton of $10 million for any information leading to the identification and arrest of those people. The families of those two guys gave them up to us. We had their names, we had their addresses and everything, and we offered to give it to the State Department for nothing. They never wanted the information.
See, now that blows my mind. Dave, do you hear that? I mean, it's like, here we have the Moriartys with all the information on to blow Benghazi completely out of the water, and Hillary Clinton doesn't want that information. Isn't that interesting?
Nobody wants the information because the media has already let her off the hook.
Sure, that's right.
And listen,
that's
the eyewitness... Right. We've had him on Joyce Riley's show a couple of times. He's had to go into hiding because he was well-spoken, English perfect, well-educated guy. Here's another piece of information. Not any of the committees, not anybody, not Trey Gowdy, not anybody has ever called us back, even though we volunteered to talk to all of them, and they had some of their big money suppliers for Trey Gowdy. Said, oh, he don't want to talk to you all. Never called us back. Not any of the committees have ever called back.
He does have a file on us.
But not only that, nobody in Libya has ever been interviewed that was not a U.S. employee.
James and Joanna, I want to ask you a question here because this is what I cannot get my head around as someone who looks at this as an outsider's point of view looking in. Okay, we have a Democratic government, or the Democrats in the White House with Obama, Hillary, okay, doing their thing, planning Benghazi, blowing up Libya because maybe it's Zionism, maybe it's the Rothschilds banks, whatever you want to call it. They were just hell-bent for leather to go in there for no reason. Here's my question, though. What pull does John McCain have, being a Republican out of Arizona? Because I realize he is a war hero from Vietnam and spent time with the Hanoi Hilton and all that. Okay, I get that. Okay, but being a Republican, how does he always seem to squirm his way like a slithery snake into these situations?
Because he's a Manchurian candidate.
Republicans, Democrats, same piece of shit. All of them the same. They've all been bought and paid for.
McCain is in with ISIS heavy. He helped build it in Arizona. ISIS is founded in Arizona. McCain... I don't know where he got. I believe he's a Manchurian candidate, that they absolutely got to him and brainwashed him or took him or whatever. And I don't think he's ever been John McCain.
No, the general of the prison where he was kept
in Vietnam,
had a big expose on him that's never been shown in the United States. It was a 2-hour expose. He said the guy came in here and we were told to treat him like royalty, and he never had a tough day in his life.
He did not say
so. He's not a war criminal. He's a piece of garbage.
And if you ask anybody in the world, they all know it. And anybody, you can ask people in Greece, you can ask people in Germany, anybody. Oh yeah, well, John McCain, he stayed in a 5-star hotel over there. Everybody knows that.
When he was in Libya, he was putting his arm around Al Qaeda and Muslim Brotherhood. Said, "These are my heroes." Same thing in Syria. They gave him an award. This is the radical Islamists gave him an award as their biggest supporter.
He's a Zionist. He's a power hunter.
And Zionist has nothing to do with religion. It's this family group, the Bilderbergs, and it starts at the top with the Rothschilds and Rockefellers. Those 85 terrible, terrible people.
The Khazarian Mafia.
they're the head of this family business that is running the money for the world, and they've been doing it now for 2,000 years, 250 years in earnest. They're the reason that the world is $700 trillion in debt. It's all based on paper money. There's nothing behind any currency anybody uses, and they're being foisted on their own petard right now.
Yeah, they're about to lose.
But the Zionists don't have anything to do with the Jewish religion. In fact, the reason that they claim to be Jews is that these bad guys were the same money traders that Jesus threw out of the temple, and they had been harassing and doing their ill-gotten gains through the Babylonian lending scheme forever. And they kept harassing Russia, and they kept going in there and stealing from the Russians and everything.
Yeah, but you got to tell them they were in the Ukraine. This is where they hail from, the Ukraine area. They're Khazarians. And the people that are running Israel right now, they did actually some DNA testing on all of them, and none of the people that are running Israel are actually from that part of the world. They're not related to that part of the world because they come from the Ukraine. And thousands of years ago, or 1,000 years ago, whenever it was, when they were doing trade, whenever they went through Ukraine, Russia, they always attacked. They would attack the trade guys and steal from them. And Russia finally got tired of it and said, "You have to pick a religion.
You have to get some morals.
You have to get some morals." And so you pick Jew, you pick Catholic or Christian, or you pick whatever. You pick something, and they pick Jews. And they are the Khazarian mafia. They are a mafia that runs the world banks, that runs the world the military-industrial complex. They run both sides of wars because they make money coming and going.
They own the military-industrial complex, but they are not Jews. They're not Jews. They're false Jews, but they are not Jews.
Oh my God, you guys!
So don't ever call Zionist any kind of religion. It's Zionism. It's a financial scheme.
Yeah.
Yeah,
these are criminals.
You guys are absolutely right. You know, I've done my research on this too, and that's why I get so upset when everybody just flips out. They think you're being anti-Semitic when you say that word, and it's just it's not true.
That's the point. And the whole thing in Germany and all the stuff that was done against the Jews was to build the Jewish religion people as victims, so nobody can ever criticize them. If you criticize them,
absolutely.
That's an absolute scheme that happened. And the Libyans, the Arabs, understand this. They call this proxy army that's out there destroying all the MENA part of the world. They call them takfiri, which means false Muslims. They know they aren't Muslims. They know that.
They hate that people refer to them as ISIS because they said that has nothing to do with our religion.
He said, call them Daesh. They said, call them Daesh.
Well, it's very interesting. You guys, you're making me remember the fact that a friend of mine, Sean Stone, Oliver Stone's son, has converted to Muslim. And every time I talk to him, he goes, "God, I can't believe how narrow-minded the American people are about being a Muslim." He goes, "I am not anything like those radical, crazy people that think they're Muslim when they're not." And you guys are just absolutely, verifying that for us here on the show tonight.
All the Muslims we know that are real Muslims are good people.
Really,
they're
family
people. They really are a stronger family unit than anybody. And I'm talking about our friends in Kuwait and even those in Egypt and every place. But the people that you see, the radicals, have nothing to do with Islam. Those are the CIA has brought in these radical imams and planted them in mosques all over the world, and they're very well paid to search out the psychopaths, these young psychopaths, that they can feed them some Viagra and some cocaine and some booze and turn them into a machine, a mercenary for the Zionists. And this is the CIA, Mossad, and MI6. Those are the three intelligence entities that have nothing to do with our government. Nothing ever benefits us. It only benefits these 85 guys.
The questions the Libyans ask always is, why can the greatest superpower in the world, why can't they defeat ISIS in Iraq? They've been fighting 3 years, ISIS. He said, ISIS is a gang of rebels. A gang of, why can't the United States, they should be able to beat them in 2 weeks.
Stop giving them money and booze and weapons, and they run away.
Yeah, but they don't even say that. They ask the question, they pose the question. And they also pose the question, how is it that the world who claims, that we're against these radical Islamists and the horrible atrocities that they do, and yet it continues every day in Libya and the world supports them and is against the Libyan people trying to fight them?
And the U.S. lies about bombing
this?
ISIS. They're fighting ISIS and accidentally drop all the weapons that they're supposed to give to the Iraqi forces, and they accidentally drop them in an ISIS camp. And then Hillary Clinton accidentally gives them $400 million.
You guys know we got to talk about that a little bit. This whole Hillary accidentally giving people money. What is that all about? I'm dying to hear.
That's a sign of a good president, isn't it?
Because the Zionists can print all the money they want, so money is something that's used to buy things.
Oh,
and so this $400 million is to buy some loyalty.
That one error. Oops. I gave $400 million to our worst enemies, makes her a traitor, and makes her the stupidest woman in the world. Who would want her to be their president?
Oh my God! Well, worse than that is, how come the handcuffs aren't out and she's not in jail for it?
Exactly.
Worse than that. Who's her fashion designer? These one-piece suits, they're horrible.
Hey, you got to hide the colostomy bag.
That's right.
Oh, God, seriously?
Okay, let's bring it back down. Hey,
okay,
there was a question. There was a picture out of last night's debate where Hillary looked to be having almost like an earpiece with if you looked on her back, they had a picture of her back, you could see the cord running down her back. That is not a colostomy bag, because I know my mother used to have one. Okay. Do you think she is being fed information into an earpiece during these debates on how to handle it?
I think that one that we saw last night is a body double.
Everybody in the United States does not believe that was her. How did she lose 30 pounds overnight? How did she de-age herself overnight?
And she hadn't been able to stand up 5 minutes by herself, and she stood up 90 minutes? No, that wasn't her.
Okay, wait a minute. You guys are kind of blowing my mind now. So let's backtrack just a hair here. Where is this coming from, this whole that's not Hillary Clinton? Because, I need to say this. She did look really good last night, and I was surprised. Because I thought she was really sick.
She's been wearing an earpiece forever.
She's got a bunch of body doubles. When she fell down in New York, on 9/11 and passed, you saw that video, of course, when she passed out?
I did.
Drag her into the car. Well, she popped out of her daughter's apartment that same day in a couple hours, 10 years younger and 30 pounds lighter.
And if you look at that video,
that is a double.
Always Hillary has all of her protectors around her. I mean, at her elbow, at her back, and everything. She walks out of that building, and nobody's within 50 feet of her. Come on.
Yeah, I hate to say this, Dave, but I actually know people who know that this is a reality. That this body double stuff goes on all the time with presidents and
yeah.
And I didn't want to believe it personally because I thought it was a little too far-fetched. But after seeing her look so dang good after having pneumonia, I thought, that's pretty crazy. I didn't look that good after pneumonia.
You want to really get into the conspiracy theory stuff? There's people out there that believe she has clones of herself.
Well, and that's an
off-planet stuff.
Yeah, now I'm beginning to wonder about that myself. Dave, what's your opinion on cloning and the presidents?
You know what? All I can say is this. The biggest hot topic politically right now in Canada is we have Prince William and Kate here in British Columbia right now doing a tour, their first time in British Columbia since they were married. And the big news that has rocked Canada during this part is our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, giving a very awkward high five to Kate Williams' son, who really didn't know what that was. Front page news in Canada. The Prime Minister blows a high five on the young prince.
Oh, geez.
So you can talk body doubles, you could talk Hillary's colostomy bag or whatever you want to call it. But I'm telling you right now, the real world news is we could not land a high five on a 3-year-old.
Well, why don't you ask those two what the hell they were doing at Bill Clinton's favorite sex island?
What?
Oh, yeah, there's pictures.
Wait. Okay, Dave. Okay, for all those people listening to the show that are younger than 18, plug your ears and tell me what you're talking about.
The pedophile dreamland, the Disney World for pedophiles, is an island that is frequented by the rich and famous preverts of the world, Bill Clinton being one of their
main. Well, he's one of their main characters. Yeah, I know that.
But the guy that owns it has been under investigation for all kinds of things. But the two royals you're talking about have frequented that island more than once.
But you have to know the royals in England are well known for that same stuff.
Oh, my God. See, now I'm very intrigued by this. What do they get to do? Well, no, I don't want to know what they're doing over there. I'm just intrigued, but there's no island.
That. You can just
You'll never find out, but if you've got a 12-year-old niece or something, send her over there and she can give you a first-hand report.
Oh, my God. I would never. Oh, my God, James. Oh, that's just a scary thought. You know,
it is
really.
Scary.
You know, I just, I worry, you know, I have a niece, and she's, you know, teenager, and she was going off to a South American country to do good for her community, right? And I was totally flipped out the whole time she was gone. Because you know what my first thought was? What have I done to piss the wrong person off that they would go after my family? That's all I kept thinking.
I don't understand why all these cloistered convents in Europe are not completely full of these young idiot females from the United States. They ought to be full. They ought to be learned. All the calluses on their knees should become from praying.
Oh God. Okay, I'm not gonna go there, James, because we're trying to do an adult and child show here tonight, aren't we, Dave?
Well, we normally run a very Christian type orchestrated broadcast here, so
Okay. Well, I
feel I need a few Hail Marys after this.
Okay,
Where's my fireball?
Let me say about Hillary Clinton that I believe, this is my thought here, my opinion, her body is self-destructing because the human body cannot survive having done that many evil deeds in its life, in its existence. So I think it's self-destructing. That's my opinion.
That I believe.
I doubt that. Yeah, I believe. I agree. I agree with you on that one.
Let me give you a little religion. We absolutely were saved and extracted from Libya with 3 miracles. The 3 people that helped us were Al Qaeda and Muslim Brotherhood, and if you look at somebody wrong, cross-eyed, they kill you. So those 3 guys that helped us absolutely. The hand of God was touching their heart to help us. Then after we got here, we've been protected so many times you can't imagine. They planted drugs in our car, and that day we just happened to have the oil changed.
So our angel was the guy who changed the oil. He found the drugs.
He found the drugs, and that night we're driving back here, and for 2.5 hours, the highway patrol searched in and around one section of the car for 2.5 hours while they got us in the bar ditch looking for drugs.
With no cause. They had no cause. They just stopped us.
And Joanne, one guy had a cell phone up to his ear. You can't search anything with one hand. And after an hour or so, I said, Joanne, slip down there and see if you can hear what he's saying. He holding this to his ear, and he said, that's where I am. That's where I'm looking.
He said, I'm right here. It's not here.
And then after 2.5 hours, their response was, well, the drug dog found odor of drugs. So sometime recently there's been drugs in this car. Let me tell you, with what we've gone through, do you think there's a snowball's chance in hell that we would ever consider having anything to do with drugs? We don't carry an open beer in the car, you know.
We've never done drugs. But, you know, the thing is, the guy gave us a ticket for going,
67 and 65.
A warning. It was a warning.
We published his name. We published the names of all the intelligence agencies that have threatened us.
They got mad at us.
And they said,
you should know better than that. You should know. Well, see, the guy gave us a phony name. And oddly enough, we found out what his real name was because we got a flyer in the mail that he was going to be doing a speech at some church in the Woodlands, Texas, where we lived. And Jimmy brought this thing and he said, look at this picture. Who does this look like? I said, it looks like Kevin. He said, no, his name's Eric Maddox. So then we showed up at his speech over there. He said, are you trailing me? I said, no. If you're going to be a spy, don't be famous.
Now, this was after we had absolutely lost everything. We couldn't imagine why. We couldn't get our business started, you know. Nobody talked to us. We couldn't get return calls. So I went to get a job because I'm a kind of a racehorse in the world business and had 3 job offers that I accepted. And then all of a sudden they were pulled. And this one church that was going to help us, all of a sudden says, we can't talk to you anymore, and that's where Kevin ended up giving his little speech a couple weeks later. They threatened the church with an audit of 7 years, would have cost them $500,000 for the audit. So that church could not afford to help us.
But the interesting thing is, Dave, Glenn Beck's organization, through Michelle Bachmann's aide, Tara Dahl, who was CIA, we found out later, wanted to do a 2-hour documentary on us. And so a guy named Joe Weasel, who was the head of the Blaze, called us and said, we want to come to your house and we'd like to interview you. We'll be there in 2 weeks. And they called back and he said, we'll be there in 3 days. This is too important. And he said, you're more in trouble from this government than you ever were from Al-Qaeda. So he showed up with his film crew, or with not his film crew, with 3 of his producers, and with one lady. He said, I brought this lady for your security. She was CIA, and her name was Nikki Barakal. And she listened to our story. They listened to it for 6 hours, and she said, you're absolutely telling the truth. I've interrogated a lot of people. What you're saying is the truth, and you are in trouble, and I'm going to be your best friend. I'm going to give you a private email address for me if you ever have any trouble, on and on. So they all left. They were coming back in 2 days to make the documentary. They never showed up. I called Joe Weasel's phone. He didn't answer. I got a call back immediately from Nikki Barakal saying, it's my call. I've shut the thing down. We're not going to do a documentary on you. You have to continue to feed intelligence from the Libyans to the intelligence community. And Jimmy said,
she said, and you have to forget about Libya,
or you won't have a life.
And I said, that sounds like a threat. She raised her voice. She said, you stand down and do exactly what I'm telling you, or you won't have a life.
Now, that was Glenn Beck's organization.
And on that note,
Wow.
I got to wrap this up. James and
Wow,
Joanne
guys.
Moriarty, thank you so much for being on Spaced Out Radio. Lorien Fenton will be back with me for hour number 2, right after this.
Your
We'll be
prayers.
right back.
Thank you, Lorien. Thank you, Dave.
Thanks,
Looking
guys.
for news beyond the mainstream news? Head to spacedoutradio.com and check out the SOR Spacewire. This is Spaced Out Radio's Eric Markham, News Director for the SOR Spacewire. Daily, I will bring you intriguing stories and outlandish reports from what's going on around the world. UFO sightings, paranormal activity, conspiracies, alternative health, and so much more. And if you have news, email me at news@spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4Cop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries, so tune in at spacedoutradio.com.
Have you had an experience you can't explain? Had a run-in with ghosts, maybe Bigfoot, or seen lights in the sky? Hi, I'm Mike Schmidt from the SOR Sightlines. I'm here to investigate your sighting. Head to spacedoutradio.com and fill out a report on the Sightlines. All your information is 100% confidential, and I will help you figure out what you've been seeing. File your report, and let's find out the answers together.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
From British Columbia to Northern California, Pacific North Weird has Cascadia covered. Check out our feature videos at spacedoutradio.com, where I, Vincent Zunza and my super sleuth partner Alexandra Sullivan track down the weird and strange stories from around the Pacific Northwest, from Bigfoot to Mel's Hole and everything in between. This is what makes life exciting. So why report the normal when we can report the Pacific North Weird right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Oh, there's only one way to rock. Loud and proud. In high definition. Radio 702 rocks. Las Vegas.
Have you ever had an extraterrestrial experience? One you just couldn't explain? Well, maybe I can help. Hello, I am Samantha Mullet. On the second Tuesday of each month, I will join Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio to bring a human aspect to ET contact. It's something I've lived with my entire life, and I'd love to help you understand. Let's share our experiences. The ET Experience, the second Tuesday of each month, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is Jolene with Rivulet Reiki and Readings, and I want you to relax. Let me help you chill out and get in touch with your body, mind, and soul. In this busy world, sometimes we need to let go, and this is where I can help. Visit my website, rivuletrr.wix.com/rivuletrr&r.
Every Saturday and Sunday night, as Dave Scott wanders aimlessly in the wilderness, you can come hang out with me, James Tyson, in Spaced Out Weekend. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I'll take you along as we talk with some of the best experts in their fields. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find us. So sit down, relax, put your feet up. Enjoy the topics like the paranormal, supernatural, intuitiveness, and so much more. Hope to see you there.
Hi there, this is your psychic medium, Joanna, and I would love it if you would join us every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. With host James Tyson, we'll bring you personal psychic messages on two mediums and a large. Questions about love, life, career changes. We would love it if you would come and join us live. Call in and listen in for the experience. Allow us to open the doors to your other side. Two mediums and a large, heard only on Spaced Out Weekend at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
Do you have a topic or a guest that you'd like to hear on Spaced Out Radio? Let us know at spacedoutradio.com, where you can sign up to become a Space Traveler member today. Or you can find us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on our Facebook page, Spaced Out Radio Show. Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Bill Cardwell has set the SOR Space Traveler's password. It is drubbing. Drubbing is your password for tonight. Use it wisely if you're a member of the SOR Space Travelers. If you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember it is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Do us a favor, donate to the Double R Machine today. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can listen to us on TuneIn. Listen to our podcasts on iTunes, and our website is spacedoutradio.com, where you can join the SOR Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month. Read up on the SOR Spacewire. Listen to our music guru, Bumblefoot, formerly of Guns N' Roses. You can also, if you're an experiencer and want something investigated, you go to our SOR Sightlines. It's brand new this week. You fill out the report, we'll have someone call you and get the information and do a report, see what we can find out for you. It's just that simple. Tonight we are talking with Lorien Fenton before we bring her back on. Tomorrow night on the show, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time, Linda Godfrey will be with us as we talk Dogman. Lorien, good to have you back on the show.
I kind of took over the first hour with my guests there. They're something. I mean, I'm telling you, they have been through stuff that you and I can't even imagine. They never even got into their story of how they escaped Libya, how they were tortured what happened to these poor people. I mean, it's mind-boggling. So I always love having them on my show. And the reason I brought them on tonight, because I'm your guest tonight, Dave, but the reason I brought them on is because I want people to understand what I'm all about. And it's very hard to explain to people. It's that I tell people all the time on my show, I live in like a 3-ring circus, because in one circus ring, I have all my conspiracies, and people like the Moriartys are in there, and the JFK assassination and the Oswald stuff. And, and I gotta say, folks, that's my hobby. Conspiracies are my hobby. Politics are my hobby. That's the thing I do when I'm not producing UFO conferences, Time Travel Con, the Mind Control Summit. And actually, the Mind Control Summit would fall into my 3rd ring. I think the 2nd ring is like UFOs, aliens, consciousness, and that type of space. And then the 3rd ring of my reality is the mind control stuff, the Manchurian candidates, the I would even say that some of the consciousness stuff falls into that as well. But, and what I'm trying to do, folks, is I'm trying to get you to understand that there are so many depths of reality. And that's what I try to do on my show. And as you know, Dave, it kind of works. Sometimes it backfires, but you never know.
Let me ask you this. When you get a guest like James and Joanne on, they're so intense, and their information starts off always, and I've had guests on like this too, their information starts off so plausible and real and defining. And it's amazing what happens when they just, I'm saying, in using this interview tonight with them, where they go off, or anybody can go off on one tangent, and it kind of ruins that whole message. I'm not saying their message was ruined, but what I'm saying is it's amazing how you can just all of a sudden go from having everybody at the edge of your seats until all of a sudden, oh, there it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. There's that thing that your mind can't accept it, right? It's like you hit the wall. You're like, oh, everything was great. These are typical normal people that went through hell. They're like, Vietnam vets. They've survived it, blah, blah, blah. Then they hit that wall. They say that one thing that you go, clones? You just go, my brain can't wrap around it. And so you dismiss everything that they've said before. And see, this is what I'm trying to get through to people. I'm trying to get people to understand that you gotta let that part be accepted in your brain when you're listening to this type of thing. Because whether it's true or not, they're open-minded enough to accept it into their reality after going through something so real. And see, that's what bothers me, is that you talk to people who have been through the kind of stuff they've been through, and then it's 2 or 3 years later, and they've done their research, and they're starting to realize, hey, the Illuminati are real. Mind control is real. Maybe cloning is real. Maybe this stuff is all real. Maybe the aliens are part of this. Maybe there's more to it than we know. And this is a couple that I can tell you, folks, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, even 10 years ago, they would have looked at you cross-eyed for bringing up the word cloning. Okay? I know that because I've talked to them. They tell me now that their mind is so open to these things because of what they've seen people do and how they act and how the CIA has acted in their home and how evil people have been around them. And you can just tell, And this is what I'm trying to get through to people, is that the truth doesn't end at that one word where you go, oh my God, these people are nuts. You've got to stop thinking that way, everybody. You really do, because there's so many more layers than you know about, and that's what they bank on. That's when I say on my show, Dave, I say evil is more organized than you could ever imagine. And I mean it. Because I've seen it myself. I was one of those people. I was a bookkeeper. I was a waitress. I was an artist. I was a potter. I made jewelry. I was like, la-di-da, everything's peaceful. And if everybody love each other, it'd all be perfect. And then I go to this conference and I have a weekend from hell. That's the only way I can describe it to people. And I had visions. I had spacecraft. I had everything happened to me in 3 days. And I woke up out of that and I went, oh my God, evil exists. And if it takes on the form of a clone, if it takes on the form of a secret space program or a super soldier that can walk through walls or whatever, I'm starting to believe in all of it. And I know that sounds really nuts. It's like I got a porous mind that maybe is too porous. But the reality is, folks, read the book by Robert Guffey about this guy that was on heroin, and he had super soldiers in camouflage invisibility cloaks in his house. And this is a real deal, and it's documented by our military. I mean, this kind of stuff happens all the time. What about all the targeted individuals out there? I mean, this stuff is real.
I wanted to ask you about that, because there is actually a lot of people now doing a body count of Hillary advisors out there, wondering who's going to be the next one that is knocked off that is close to her circle. Are you buying into that conspiracy?
Yes, absolutely. I know Roger Stone. I don't know him well, but I've had him at several conferences that I've co-produced in the last few years. And I have talked to him briefly, and I have read his books, especially The Clintons' War on Women. If people read that, they will completely understand what is going on right now. Hillary has always been in control. It goes so deep, you guys. It's just mind-boggling. I think she is responsible for more deaths than her husband ever could be, because he'd rather love him, He'd rather rape him and love him that way, She'd rather murder him and get him out of the way. So, it's such a deep well, and people have got to realize that. So if you got a chance, folks, get Roger Stone's new book, Clinton's War on Women. It just came out in paperback yesterday, I think. It's very affordable. Please buy it. Please read it. And then ask yourself, do I really want this woman to be president of the United States? Seriously. Okay.
Her fashion is terrible.
Her fashion is terrible. It's worse than even the prince and the queens of England and all that. At least they got funny hats.
Hey, before we go any further, because pretty soon we're going to bring in Ward Weinheimer, and he has he has a very interesting video that he has on YouTube about an ET caught on tape, and we're going to get into that when he comes on here in the next little bit. But before we bring you that whole aspect of conspiracy up, super soldiers lost kind of their famous name a little while ago in Max Spears. For people who don't know who Max Spears was, what was he all about?
Oh, Max. Oh, my God. Dave, I can't believe we're talking about this. Okay. I told you I had that weekend that happened to me, and Max was a complete part of that weekend. As that weekend gets further in years behind me, I'm wondering if it wasn't all orchestrated and created for me because of the handlers that Max had. I don't know how much I can go into this, because I'll tell everybody right now, Max and I were very, very close for 3 years after that date. And that date was September 22nd and 23rd, 2011. And I met him that weekend, and I had drove to LA to Project Camelot's Awake and Aware conference, and I had thought about on the way down there, I was producing UFO Con, the first one. As I was driving down there, I was knowing I had to get up people for UFO Con from that conference. But as I was driving down there, I kept thinking to myself, gee, I wonder why no one's ever put on a conference for these super soldiers. God, I was so naive, Dave. I was so naive and so stupid. If I hadn't been so dumb and so naive at that moment, none of this would have happened, I'm sure. But, yeah, it was very interesting. I could go into my whole story, but I'm not going to. I'm going to just fast forward to Sunday afternoon, when I was supposed to meet James Rink at my table at the conference in the hallway. Because he came up to me at one point and said, hey, I've heard rumor over the weekend that you're going to be putting on a super soldier conference, because I had mentioned it to a few people there. And next thing I knew, the whole place was buzzing about it, and I didn't know it. But, basically everybody's like, yeah, there's going to be a super soldier conference. And I'm like, oh, I guess I'm doing this now, right? So he came up to meet me at a table, and he brought this gentleman with him. And I was sitting at the table with my friend to my right, and my head is down under the table table packing up my stuff. And I hear this voice up above me, and it's James Rink, and he's saying to this woman next to me, I want you to meet my friend, Max. And I heard his voice when he said hello, and it was like somebody shot me. And I'm going to start crying. I got to start not cry. It's like someone shot me, and I just knew that I knew him, and it was so compelling, the feeling. It was like love and fear and intrepidation and love, and I can't even explain the feeling I had. It was so overwhelming that I didn't know what to say. I looked up, and I just said to him, and the first words out of my mouth were, I know you. And he looked at me and he said, well, I don't know you, which kind of broke the spell, thank God. And I went, that's okay. It's going to be different from now on. And he looked at me and he said, I got that feeling. I think you're right. And from that moment on, he and I were like, I can't describe it to people. What happened on that evening is we went to dinner and we started talking about Nazis and cloning and Mengele and the secret space program, Manchurian candidates, satanic ritual abuse. We talked about everything until about 3 o'clock in the morning. So at about 1 o'clock in the morning, before they left at 3, we started getting on the subject of Joseph Mengele, Nazis, and cloning. And folks, I started getting really sick. And I don't know why I did, but I kept telling him, we can't talk about this. And he kept saying, why? And I said, because I can't talk about it, because I was getting physically ill. And now I know what that was. It's some type of programming they do to people so they keep them quiet. So they don't talk about the things that that they don't want you to get the word out to the world. And I've been breaking that programming up for a very long time now, as you guys all know here on Revolution Radio and here on Spaced Out Radio with Dave. It's just been, it was really amazing what happened. But what really changed my whole life was that next morning, after they left at 3 o'clock in the morning, at 7 a.m.-ish, I started waking up. And as I was waking up, I went into a full-blown, I call it a hallucination vision. I don't even know how to describe it to anybody. Unless you've had one, you don't know what I'm talking about, but it's like being in a movie. And your eyes are closed, but you're actually physically like on a holodeck in a movie living a life. And I was instantly propelled to a place where I'm not going to tell you guys all what happened until I'm ready to. But Max and I were, let's say, we were very entwined. Okay, you guys can take your mind wherever you want to do it, but that's basically what was going on. But in the moment of having that sexual union, there was much more going on. I felt like our atoms were being cloned onto each other, melted together. It's so hard to describe that I don't know what to say to people about it. That's why I don't talk about it. Because how do you describe that kind of molecular connection in another reality, in another dimension possibly? And so that's what was going on. And then suddenly, during all this, I find myself, and I'm going to go further than I've ever gone before, Dave, and I'm only going to do this for a couple more minutes because I really
appreciate that.
Get Ward on here. But at that next moment, and I hope there's no children in the audience, at that next moment, I find myself naked and strapped to a wooden chair with rollers on it, and I'm being rolled into a room. And there's a lot of stuff going on that I can't talk about on the radio. And this is only something I'm ever going to be able to talk about at a conference in a closed room with people over 18 years old. And a lot of very strange and bizarre stuff going on. There's a guy in a uniform in the back of the room, and he's wearing a black helmet and a black outfit with no insignia. I can tell you that. I can tell you I was screaming at the top of my lungs, and Max was quite there. And it was a horrific moment, and it was a torturous moment. And I snapped out of it eventually. I mean, I felt like I was in it forever. I was probably only in that scenario for, 10 seconds tops. But I snapped out of it, And I started crying, and I couldn't stop crying for 3 hours. And I don't even know, at that point in time, I had no idea what super soldiers were. I had no idea what other dimensions were. I had no idea any of this. And I was propelled into it, and I woke up, and I'm a mess. I'm a blithering idiot. And it took me 3 months before I could tell Max what happened. We were talking on the phone pretty much every other day for quite some time, but then 3 months later, I actually told him what happened. And that's when Max started telling me about all the things that had happened to him in his life. And I will start telling those stories about Max at my next Mind Control Summit, and possibly in a book that I'm writing about the super soldiers, my relationship to them. And I have quite a few people really, pushing me to write this story, because it is probably one of the more in-depth versions of all these super soldier stories. I mean, we have Casbolt, we've got the other guys, we've got John Rao, we got a ton of people out there saying they're super soldiers, but I actually got to hang out with two of the most famous super soldiers out there and become very good friends, and I have some amazing stories to tell you that they've never told the world. And I promised Max that I would not talk about it until, he was dead. And I jokingly said that to him one day, and he laughed and he said, well, I said, it's going to be you that's telling the stories about me someday. And he laughed and he said, no, I think it's going to be the other way around. And I just never believed him. So, because he is 20 years younger than me. So, I just thought for sure I'd be dead long before he was. So I never thought I'd be in this position, and it's a really tough position to be in, because I know some very intimate details about Max's life that a lot of people don't even know about. So someday I'll talk about him, Dave. But right now, I mean, people go, "Why can't you talk about it now?" It's been months. It may take me years to get to the point where I can actually discuss it.
Do you, when it comes to the super soldier program, and I'm not going to push you more on Max Spears, whether or not you think there's a conspiracy behind him, I'm still trying to wrap my head, and you and I have talked about this numerous times about what the super soldier is supposed to be, and I still don't get it. I know a lot of people who have studied on it don't get it.
And that's the reason you don't get it is because they don't want us to get it. And what I have finally figured out is that there are so many layers of super soldiers. And I'll tell you who got me onto this was Duncan O'Finian. Duncan O'Finian, I met him that weekend as well. It's like all the super soldiers were at that conference, and I realize they were probably all placed there to get in my path. And I know that sounds really egotistical, folks, but not in my path in a good way. I can tell you that right now, because none of it ever turned out good. But Duncan at that conference said to me, "Oh yeah, I want to be part of it. I want to be part of your event and all this." And then I get hanging out with him, and he starts telling me who I can and cannot have at the conference. Now, I understand that. That's the way he is, and he believes that only people that can be called super soldiers are people that have been in the military and trained and programmed by our military. Okay, and enhanced by our military. And I get that now. I totally get what he was trying to point out to me. But I also understand that there are psychic super soldiers out there that, like the remote viewers. I would consider, Lynn Buchanan, Ingo Swann, McGonigal, all the guys, Dave Morehouse, all of your famous remote viewers, I consider them super soldiers. That's my opinion. I consider them remote viewing super soldiers because most of them work for the military. Most of them are traveling around dealing with issues for the military, and they are being soldiers in the process of doing it. So I consider them that. Then there's also your guys that are being taken by these black ops groups that are in psychic programs, and they run around in other dimensions and do things that I can't even talk to you about here on the radio that I know about. And those guys are super soldiers too. But they are not in your true military. I call them psychic super soldiers because they're used in these black ops, psychic, psyops programs. And then, you got your guys that are just being used as, guinea pigs out there to test, invisibility cloaks and spacecraft that flies around. I consider the Air Force, they've got a whole secret space program of super soldiers that fly around out in space. So, I mean, there's so many layers of super soldiers. That's my answer to your question.
It almost sounds like to put it closely, and please tell me, because I'm very naive on this subject, it almost sounds like what we see with Jason Bourne and the Bourne Identity, that we've created this whole subspecies of soldier / spy / person who can move in and out without anybody knowing who they are. Whether it's remote viewing, whether it's psychic adventures, whether it's, true Manchurian Candidate type people. Would I be correct on that?
Yes, absolutely. And that's what I'm trying to get through to, people that listen to my radio show, people that are listening to Spaced Out Radio. I want them to understand there are so many layers of what we call super soldiers. You can just call them super psychics. You can call them super people. You can call them whatever you want, but they're all on a mission from somebody, whether it's benevolent or malevolent or whatever. Somebody out there is pulling their strings, and there are light workers. Now, this is another whole category that I'm starting to figure out. There are light workers out there, and I consider myself one of them now, that are working on another whole level with higher angelic beings that are trying to battle the evil that is on this planet at a very high level. I think the psychic super soldiers and the super soldiers working for the military and all those people are working on a very dense level. Even though a lot of them are working in other dimensional time space, I still think they're working on a very dense level, a very evil kind of malevolent level. So, I just think there's many different levels going on now. And like I said, if you'd asked me this in 2010, I would have said you were a nut job. That I'd be on the radio in 2016 saying all this, right? I'd just be like, right, no way,
I'm going to get to a couple questions from our audience, and then once you're finished your answers, we're going to connect up with Ward Weinheimer.
Yay! And that's another thing I wanted to just say quickly. Folks, I'm bringing on 3 different types of people tonight as my sub-guest or my co-guest or whatever we are here, Dave. And the reason I'm doing that is because all 3 of these guests are people that have extraordinary things to say that I hope you are open-minded enough to, at least check out and try to understand what they're talking about. Because the Moriartys have been through stuff that's mind-boggling. Ward has finally come out about his alien video. And our 3rd guest tonight is going to be, oh my God, I just drew a blank.
Robert Stanley.
Thank you, Robert. And he's going to talk about Wes, this person that's writing about this alien type of Archon virus that's taking over the planet, he believes. And, whether you want to believe this or not, that's another whole story, but I think it's very compelling, and I think everybody should have an open mind tonight. And hopefully you guys can all open your minds a little further, and tonight you can just kind of say, well, you never know. That would be my goal for the whole show tonight, Dave.
Frick. Question from Lisa for you, Lorien. Lorien, do you believe that super soldiers are alien or human or a combination of both?
I think there are many versions of super soldiers. I think some are clones, and don't ask me to explain that one because I'm still trying to wrap my head around it too. I think some are clones. I think some are enhanced. Like Duncan O'Finian was enhanced. They have metal parts and pieces put in them, but those are the older versions. A lot of them have had their consciousness altered and hijacked, very similar to Solaris Blue Raven when she was hooked up to the AI system. And there are so many different, like I said, you guys, there are many layers, many levels, many different ways of taking over a person. Targeted individuals are a prime example of what they've done through the super soldier programs, but now they're experimenting on the regular population to see how far they can control them. And they aren't in a program per se where they're running around doing missions. These people are just at the bidding of these horrible human beings that run their lives and try to ruin them and use them to do their false flag episodes and the things like, that they're trying to take over gun control or, whatever it is that they're trying to do. So that's my answer, Lisa. And I'm sorry it's not very, it's succinct and short and not very long, but that's it. That's all I've got for you.
All right, next question comes from Claudia. Claudia is asking, isn't there groups of super soldiers meeting with each other, recalling all of the missions they were sent to do, but during their mission they, at the time, did not remember anything? Now the memories are coming back and they're sharing what they remember?
Yes, there are groups of, well, I don't know how many groups there are, but I do know of 3 or 4 people that have come to me in the last 6 months that are saying, oh my God, I heard your story, and then it suddenly dawned on me that I'm starting to have memories, and I thought they were false memories. I thought they were my imagination. I thought they were a movie I saw when I was a kid. I didn't know what they were, and now I'm starting to realize these are real things that have happened to me. And the programming seems to be breaking down for a lot of people. This might have something to do with the vibrational frequencies that are hitting the planet, I think, or it might have something to do with the fact that our consciousness as a human race is starting to evolve a little bit more here and there. And also, if people are open-minded enough to actually hear the truth about other things around them, like super soldiers or aliens or spacecraft or, whatever, if they just open their mind enough to say, God, that could be a possibility, who knows what they can remember. A lot of us may be in programs we don't even know about, If you could just get your head to the point where you say, hey, I'm just going to be open to the fact that anything goes, And at that point, you realize, oh my God, maybe that's what that was all about. That's what happened to me. I'm sitting there at a conference and I hear, these key words and I went, oh my God. And it was like the floodgates opened. And I think a lot of people are having those kind of awakenings. Absolutely.
One final question before we call in Ward here. This is from Michael. And he is asking, are there mentally and physically enhanced super soldiers, like example, Kurt Russell in the movie Soldier?
Yes, absolutely. There are plenty of those guys. And I can't tell you guys how I know this, but I do have a friend who has a very good friend that has finally confided into me about his enhancements. And that's all I'm going to say. And I don't know, he's not the third one. What I tell everybody on my radio show, Dave, is I go in threes. If I have somebody that comes to me like 5 years ago and says, blah, blah, blah happened to me, I go, oh, that's very interesting. So you've got a bionic eye, right? Like, for example, Jean McDonald over in Europe. She came to me 5 years ago, said, look what they've done to my eye. And she shows me these x-rays and I see this thing in her eye. And I'm just like, what the heck? And, I let it go because, I like Jean, but, I'm not going to take it at face value instantly when one person tells me something. Okay, 2 years later, this guy comes to me and he says, Lorien, look what they did to my eye. And I'm like, oh my God, this looks a lot like what they did to Jean's eye. Oh God, this is weird, And then my brain starts clicking, right? It's like, whoa, maybe we should start paying attention to this, okay? And then just a few months ago, this other person came to me and said, you're not going to believe what they did. They did it to both eyes. I'm like, no way. And I'm looking at this x-ray of these eyes. I'm going, this looks exactly like what's going on with Jean, my other friend. And now this third person has got it in both eyes. And they're actually implanting little tiny miniature cameras in there. And Jean's was larger. I think hers was a long time ago. And this other guy that came along second, his are a little smaller. And this third person's are the size of just, little BBs. And they're looking at people through their eyes. And I'm just like, what the hell? I'm telling you, folks, this stuff happens. And it's not just eyes, it's implants, it's enhancements to bone structure. I have heard of these nanos. Now, I'm going to say this. I don't know if it's real, but I'm going to tell you guys, I've been hearing about this a lot more lately. I heard about it 6 years ago, and it's about the implants. The implants have changed. They are not metal structures anymore. What they're using now is within vaccines or shots, they use this jelly substance that the nanos can live in. And what it does is it adheres itself to ligament tissue and it grows within the ligament tissue and becomes part of your body because it's organic and it's undetectable by a, TSA or an MRI machine or anything else that's going to pull it out of your body like it did with Duncan O'Finian. So, yes, this stuff is going on, and they're getting much more sophisticated about how they're getting it into your bodies. So be very cautious. I tell people all the time, this whole new vaccine law, it may not be about vaccines at all. It may be all about tagging our kids with nanoparticles that they can keep track of them, control them, mind control them, control their body, control their growth, control their hormones. Who knows what they're controlling, but that's what I think it's all about. And hey, maybe I'm just paranoid. I don't know.
All right, let's make a phone call here. We're calling Ward.
Yay, we're going to call Ward. Okay, we're switching gears. Sorry, guys, but we got to get on to Ward because he's been waiting all night. And it's like in the middle of the night for him.
Oh, it's ringing. It's ringing.
It's ringing. It's ringing. I'm so
I'm
excited.
all excited now. I'm all excited.
He's probably asleep.
I hope we didn't miss him.
He probably fell asleep.
Hello?
Oh, there he is. Hi, Ward.
Hi.
I got Lorien with me, Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you on with us.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, are you awake, Ward? You know, we got to talk about super soldiers, and I said, oh, shoot, we should have called Ward like 15 minutes ago.
That's all right. It's all right.
Hey, what are you doing? Hey, I called you, and you were like, hey, I want to tell everybody what's been happening. So do you want to share the new good news,
right.
Or should we keep it under wraps, or what are we going to do?
Yeah, I'll tell you. Yeah, there's this guy from that lives in Los Angeles, and he's been working. He's done 76 films. He's a videographer or filmography or whatever. I don't know. You know, guy who does the takes the pictures. Anyway, one day he. On his YouTube, my alien robot video popped up for him to watch. And he watched it, and he was blown away. He said that, either I have a whole studio behind me making these videos, or it's the best alien video he's ever seen. So he started talking to me, and a few months back, he said that he'd like to base a movie on the alien robot movie. Alien robot video. So he's written a script. Right now, it's on Indiegogo. The name of the movie is Red Light because that's what the aliens called me. They called me Red Light. So that's what he called. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I forgot about that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So, I'm not really seeing any money or anything because it's an indie film, and unless this somehow goes, becomes viral, and then everybody, becomes a big blockbuster, then I'll probably make some money. But right now, I just want to get it out. My whole reason for letting him use my video in the movie, it's just based on my video. It's a fictional story based around my video. But my reason for wanting him to do this.
Before we go on here, because I got to say this, I know exactly why you're doing it, because it's so hard to get people to believe you. And, I'm very grateful to you for coming on my show. The very first time, I think you emailed me one night because you heard on my radio show that I'd had an experiencer on that was just kind of like telling his story. I think it was the guy who had the bowling pin fly in front of him and it had a cape and it started doing telepathy at him. I can't remember if it was him.
I don't remember. I don't know. So much has happened over this last year. It's been a crazy year.
You're an amazing guy for getting a hold of me, and I love the fact that you said I've got this video and I really want to, get it out there for people to see and, at least help you dissect it at the time. And so what we did, which is kind of unprecedented, very few radio talk show hosts will do this. They said, okay, we're going to do your video on radio. And what we did is we had everybody gather around their TV screens or their computer screens or what have you. And we started describing the video, and we'd have everybody stop after 5 seconds, 10 seconds, go to this position. And it was kind of fun because it was the first time I'd ever done anything like that. And I want to thank you for it because it really turned out to be a real fun thing to do. And so what I want to do right now is I want to tell everybody how they can go look at the alien video, and we'll just take a few minutes and let everybody watch it. And then I want everybody everybody to start sending in questions about the alien video, and Ward can answer them. How does that sound, Ward?
Okay, sounds good. Yeah,
Great.
if you
So
go to
ahead and tell everybody how to find it.
On YouTube, the name of my channel is Ward Alien Video. So just like my first name is Ward and my last name would be Alien Video. So that's how you put it in for the search. And I have, I think, about like 9 videos on there. The one that's the best, I believe, and everybody else seems to believe, is the one that's Alien Robot. Well, actually, a different perspective, Alien Robot. I think that has like the best description. That's the one that the guy who's making the movie, he took my video and he put, slowed it down and enhanced, and enlarged it. So I think that's probably the best one to look at. But you can just see the original one too.
Yeah.
Which is Alien Robot. But if you search for Alien Robot, I think I'm the only one. Search for. I'm one of the only videos that come up for Alien Robot. I think.
Okay,
there's not too many out there.
Now that we're gonna let them all kind of watch it, and while they're watching it, here's what we're gonna do, Dave, if it's okay with you.
Sure.
Ward and I are gonna kind of describe it from the beginning, kind of slowly here, and people can watch. And then when you guys are done watching, it's not very long; it's only a few minutes, right, Ward?
Right, yeah. 2 minutes,
as soon as they're
2
done,
minutes
you guys,
and 30 seconds, yeah.
Exactly. As soon as you guys are done, I want you to start putting questions in for Dave to read off to Ward. So we have that. So the video starts with, you go ahead, Ward. Just tell them kind of, slowly here how the video progresses.
Sure. Well, right at the beginning of the video, you see some creature materialize right in front of the screen, and he goes from right to left. Now, I didn't even notice this until just like a year ago or something. I didn't even notice it until I actually slowed down the video and got to see it. And then it takes place in my mother's guest bedroom in a sterile flooring. Yeah. And so this is all in her bedroom, her guest bedroom. And, I have no knowledge of this video at all. How I found it was I was going through my cell phone. I was perusing the videos, and I saw a thumbnail picture that I didn't recognize. And, I looked at it, and there's a video that I never took, and it had all this weird stuff on it. So, I watched it, and it turned out to be aliens on it. So,
well, now, and I got it. I think, Ward, I'm going to go right to the kicker on this, because here's my favorite part about all of our interactions together and what we've done is that at the very end, not the very end, but partially through about 2/3 of the way through the video, we finally discovered that we're looking at the shoulder of a little gray, and we can kind of see the side of his cheek and his chin. And we
right.
Yeah, we actually realized, didn't we, Ward? It was so amazing.
Yep.
We realized that the little alien had taken the video. He had picked up the cell phone. He was shooting the video. And then when he kind of realized what he was doing, he kind of dropped it back on the nightstand and stopped filming.
Actually, no. He actually got the robot to be more in frame, actually.
Oh, did he? Was that what he was doing?
Yeah.
I thought he was kind of freaked out.
No, he didn't drop it. No. He took, remember there's also that little creature that looks like it's in a pea pod, but it's actually not. It's like a fork. And that thing's all shiny and, it's, I don't know what kind of creatures, but you remember you were talking about, you could see the little paws and the little legs and how they were crossed.
Ears, I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So wild.
This, like I've said before, I'll take a lie detector with my family. This is the real deal. And that's one of the, the reasons I want to get this out there is I want people to realize that this is really going on, and this is what really looks like what really happens. This is, this is not something that's made up just for people to look at. Actually, it looks pretty spooky, though. It really does. It's almost like I directed it and, made it into a video because it is pretty spooky looking,
It is. And the little alien, should we name him? Should we call him Mini Ward?
Sure. Yeah, that's the movie is going to be based on, that creature that's in the video, the one that's like in suspended animation, is going to be part of the movie where, that's the woman's child, actually. So.
Wow. God, that's going to be
so
cool. Well,
Ward, who, can I just cut in here for a second? I'm watching the video as we go here.
Mm-hmm.
Who is crawling off the bed? Is that a bed?
Me at the end. No, there's no pets. It's me. At the end of the video, you'll see me getting off the bed. On the bed, I don't know what the hell that is on top of the bed. It looks like I don't know. The guy who's doing the film, he thinks it's me with my head on the bed, me with my head and arms and legs cut off, and it's just my torso there on the bed. Now I don't know how that could be, but so you only see me towards the end of the video.
So that's you getting up and stepping onto the floor.
Correct, yes. And actually, the original video is 30 minutes long. But you only have stuff happening in the first 2.5 minutes. The rest of the video shows me walking around my bedroom, playing air piano to a song. I get undressed and I put my night clothes on, and I'm just farting around the bedroom. And then I guess this was an old phone, 2009 phone. It was a really crappy phone. So, and also it shut off, I guess, after 30 minutes because that's how long the video is. I guess, there's a timer on these videos back then. I don't know, but it shut off by itself. You don't see me walking up. I never acknowledged that there's a video camera going on at the time in the whole 30 minutes. But I'm not going to put a video out of me just walking around my room, and you want to watch that.
Wow. Well, so the little alien who turned on the video forgot to turn it off, basically.
I guess. Or, I don't know. I don't know why. Actually, my feeling was that the reason they did, because I thought I was going crazy. And like I've said in the past, I even called 911 on myself. Because I really thought I lost it, And,
Ward, I got to thank you for telling the audience that, because one of the things that happens during my shows, and I know Dave's shows and everything else, we've been talking about this all night. There's a thread running through this whole show, and this is why I brought you on tonight, is because I want people to start opening up their minds that these things are real. And even you having this happen to you didn't want to believe it. And you even called 911 on yourself. I mean, how often do people admit that? I mean, this is an amazing story about yourself. Just your story around the whole thing is pretty amazing. So I want people to understand that people that this stuff happens to don't always believe it themselves. I mean, it took me 3 months to even wrap my head around what happened to me in 2011. And I was just wrapping my head around it, seriously.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard for me to even really, even to this day, it's hard for me to realize that this stuff is really, really happening. It seems like it's not even happening to me. It's like to some other person, like sort of. I mean, but, they have shown me so many strange things that, and done some strange things and let me capture some strange stuff on video. They continually, I don't get it all the time, but, they've let me keep on catching on video. So evidently, they don't mind, but they never actually stand there for me, though. I wish they'd do that. And I also don't remember almost any of the any of the times that I do get them on video, I don't remember anything about the videos.
See, that's normal, though. You know that, right? All the other people that are contactees, most of them, except for Dave Scott, he's one of the few I know that has had contact in broad daylight, and he remembered it all while it was happening. Most of your contactees don't remember a darn thing, at all. And you're lucky you're getting the video of it. So that's pretty cool.
Right, exactly. Well, like I said, I was about to, to really check myself in, because all these strange things were happening, more like poltergeist stuff, and I was hearing voices and things were falling off. But then, I thought, this can't be real. This is but after I saw the video, there's aliens in my life. That's why I think I'm going crazy. So it really saved my life, because I'm right now. I could be talking to you from an insane asylum.
God. Oh my God. Well, I love that about you, Ward. So, Dave, you got questions for Ward?
Well, I have to tell you that when I saw it the first time on the video, and I've replayed it, it's around the 43-second mark where you see the shoulder and everything, and a little bit of the neck. I have to say that to me looks very familiar. It looks so familiar it actually started putting chills down my spine and the hair standing up all over my body. So it reminds me quite much like the time I believe that I woke up on the table when I was taken. So.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
That's got to be scary.
You know what? It wasn't too bad, and I have to thank Samantha Mowat for that, because 4 or 5 months previous, she actually forewarned me that it was going to happen and prepared it for me. Or prepared me for it, I should say. So it wasn't as bad as what I thought it was. But, they look very, very familiar. I would look at this video and I would say, that's not the type of gray that we think of with the artificial intelligence, which there's no emotion, there's no...
Right.
I mean, there is obviously, in watching this, some sort of curiosity of what was going on, almost childlike. Would you agree?
Right. Yes, I agree 100%, because they've actually talked to me through my mother and daughter at different times. My daughter came up to me and she said, is it okay to have sex with children? She was 18 at the time. And I thought, I just shushed her away, come on, you know that. Yeah? And then she asked me again. I was like, what are you asking me? Of course not. And then when I asked her later about why the hell would she ask me something like that, she goes, I never asked you that. And then another time, my mother was telling me about this science fiction book she was reading, and going on about, how the aliens were supposed to keep track of time, and they lost track of time. And she said, isn't that terrible? I said, yeah, well, it's not that bad. Just readjust your clock, that's all. And then I talked to her the next day or something. She said, I don't have that book. I don't know what book you're talking about. So it was like, they were talking to me like almost. And also on my leg, there's a video. They put a face on my leg. It's not a tattoo. It's not anything. But you can actually see a face. And to me, it looks like a girl with her tongue sticking out, going, na, 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 like that kind of tongue, And that's what it looks like to me, the face. That's one of my videos on Board Alien Video, too. You could see the face. If you watch that video, you got to look at it in a small screen, because it was taken on a cell phone. So if you blow it up, you don't see the image of the face too clear. But if you keep it small, you can see the face on my leg, which is totally bizarre.
Ward, I have a question from Claudia in our audience. She is asking, did the robot suddenly appear in front of you? Did you see him walk around the room? Did he just disappear?
Like I said, I have no memory, but he seemed to just disappear towards the end of the video. Like, all of a sudden, you could see, if you slow down, like if you watch the video, a different perspective, alien robot, you see that he's coming off the floor. Like, he actually materializes right at the end of the bed. He comes off the floor. He repeats that on that video and shows it, how he comes off the floor and then just pops up at the end of the bed. Right before he pops up, the camera scans the room, and you could see that he wasn't there just the previous second. And then all of a sudden he just pops up. And then towards the end of the video, you see something like, you know, getting in the way of the video. I don't know if it's me or if it's in that, whatever. And then when I get up, he's gone. Or where it looks like he's gone. But I walk around the room for the next, I don't turn on the light for a while. I turn on the light maybe 15 minutes in, and, you know, but like, you know, I said, like, the rest of the video is just me walking around, like, you know, nothing ever happened, except at one point I do look under my bed. I don't know why I did that, but I did.
So you didn't get to touch it or anything?
Not that I remember, no. I'm yeah, they definitely have a relationship with me, because when I had a video, Dave's giving me videos and taking videos back. There was a video that I had of my bedroom in my condo, and there was a deep, metallic, computer voice, and it said, "Red light, you are the first one." And I don't know to this day what the hell they were talking about. My name's not Red Light, you know, and I still, you know, it's so cryptic, you know, like, what am I the first one of? You know, the first one they're going to kill, you know. I don't know, you know. They evidently have some kind of relationship with me that I don't know about, and I hope someday that I find out exactly what's going on. They seem to be letting me in on some stuff, but not on everything, though.
Awesome. We only got about 30 seconds here before we're going to go to break. Fantastic story, Ward Weinheimer. I would love to have you on the air again, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure.
Yes,
yeah, anytime.
Gotta go on with Dave. He's hot. His show's great, man. I love it.
Okay, sure.
You know me.
Sure,
I love
anytime.
me some aliens. I love me some aliens. Anytime I could get my hands on some aliens, and it's always a good time for me. You know, I'm loving this tonight, Lorien. Thank you.
Are we having fun? I told you we'd have fun.
Exactly. We'll be right back on Spaced Out Radio, Hour 3 with Lorien Fenton and Robert Stanley next.
Hey, Ward, are you...
The SOR Sightlines is a place for you to find answers to your strange experiences. Hi there, this is Mike Schmidt. If you have had an encounter with ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, ETs, or anything else that doesn't make sense, head to spacedoutradio.com and file a Sightlines report. All information you give is 100% confidential, and I will personally help you find the answers you need. SOR Sightlines, your answers are a click away.
Greetings and salutations, space travelers, from the Chronicles of the Unknown team.
What is Chronicles of the Unknown? I keep hearing about this thing.
It's a new paranormal reality TV show based right here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Follow our team as we uncover claims of activity on the Caribou Gold Rush Trail. You can also follow us here every third Monday, where 2 members of our team will be available to answer your questions. We'll give you some equipment updates and some of our experiences on the road, right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4COP. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
This is your medium, Joanna, from Spaced Out Weekend, 2 mediums and a large. I would love it if you would come and join us with host James Tyson every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. Together, we will take your calls and your questions live. Our goal is to provide you with a positive outlook on deep questions that you may have. Questions regarding love, relationships, money, or whatever else is on your mind. Come and check us out at spacedoutradio.com.
Have you checked out the SOR Spacewire at spacedoutradio.com yet? Every day we post the latest stories regarding the weird, strange, and completely unbelievable. From cryptid and UFO sightings to the conspiracy world, we tackle it all. Hi there, I'm Eric Markham, Spaced Out Radio's news director for the SOR Spacewire. And if you have a story, I want to hear it. Email me at news@spacedoutradio.com.
Patrolling the Pacific Northwest, we are always on the lookout for the strange and unassuming stories that real people are experiencing. Hi, I'm Vincent Zunza from Pacific North Weird. Me and Alexandra Sullivan have teamed to bring to you those odd stories that never seem to make it into the mainstream. Stories so weird that will leave you scratching your head wondering, is this real? It's as real as it gets with Pacific North Weird. You can watch our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Every month on Spaced Out Radio, we look into the deep and dark reports of cryptids roaming around the world with me, Rob Morphy, from Cryptopia.us. I would love it if you would join me and host Dave Scott as we delve into the most arcane stories and reports regarding creatures of the unknown. My job is to hunt down the details and bring the evidence forward to you. These aren't your regular Bigfoot stories I'm talking about either. You can find out more about crypto history at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to connect with us on Spaced Out Radio? Head to spacedoutradio.com to check out the latest shows, guests, and sponsors. And don't forget to sign up for the Space Travelers Club. You'll find all you need at spacedoutradio.com. Welcome back for hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. What an entertaining evening it has been. If you're an SOR space traveler, your password is drubbing. Drubbing is your password, set by Bill Cardwell, as he does it every night on this show. John Connor now knows what the password is for. Thank you, John, for paying attention and using the password properly, as you normally do. If you're a listener on Revolution Radio, it is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Do us a favor. Donate today by going to freedomslips.com. Tomorrow night on the show, first 2 hours, will be Linda Godfrey as we talk Dogman, Wolfman, cryptids galore with the Queen of the Cryptids. Tomorrow night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time, right here on the mighty SOR. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. Listen to us on TuneIn. You can also follow us on iTunes. Download our podcasts on a daily basis. And our website is spacedoutradio.com. While there, you can join the SOR Space Travelers Club. It's only $5 a month. Read up on the SOR Spacewire. Check out our latest blogs. Listen to some music from Bumblefoot. And, of course, you can now, a new feature on the website, read up on the SOR Sightlines report. We are taking live reports from you. We'll get an investigator to call you. They will take a report, and we'll be able to help you out that way. So if you've had an experience, paranormal, UFOs, cryptids, aliens, whatever it may be, fill out a Sightlines report at spacedoutradio.com. Lorien Fenton is with us.
I'm happy to be here.
We are still waiting for Robert Stanley to hop on Skype so that way we could get him.
He may not show up. It just depends. You know, I did this kind of what I call Skype dialing. I just kind of texted a whole bunch of people and said, hey, I'm going to be on a show tonight. You want to come on and prove my points for me? And a bunch of people responded, and he did. But, you know, he lives in another part of the world, and it's the afternoon there, and he has a kid, and who knows what might have happened. You know, kids fall down, they have to go to school, you know, who knows what happened. So he may show up, he may not. If he doesn't, I have a couple other people I could try to grab, but I think we'll be okay.
I think we'll be okay, too. We will race through this next.
Yeah, if you just come up with questions for me. But you know what I never got to talk about tonight was all the conferences I'm producing over the next 3 months.
Let's go over that.
I would love to talk about that if you don't mind.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, let's get into it. So, and people ask me all the time, they go, Lorien, you're a nut job for putting on all these events and helping with all these events. And, you know, because honest to God, folks, there's no money in it. I mean, people go, don't tell people there's no money in it. But, you know, there isn't. I mean, there's survival in it. But the reason I do it because everything I produce, the message is there to enlighten, you know, whoever for whatever reason. And let's start with the next one I'm doing. I would like to recap briefly. I just got through helping with the Los Angeles David Icke event and the last Saturday, the David Icke event in Richmond, California. I was actually the co-producer with the USA tour coordinator, which is Robert Perala, which is my best friend, and we just had a great time doing it. And David was he rocked it out of the park. And I've seen David Icke speak 1, 2, 3, 4. This will be my 5th time seeing David speak, and he really rocked it out of the park, you guys. I was impressed and the reason I was so impressed is because he said don't vote, because it doesn't matter because it's already been predestined anyhow, and I've been saying that for years. He also said that the reptilians are feeding off of us, and it's in a whole different dimensional state than we are used to, and they're more like archons, and I absolutely agree with him on that. And there's just so many points he made that I live now, that I was like going, oh, thank God someone's out there talking about it. But, you know, he started it. 25 years ago, David Icke started on his adventure, and people laughed at him. They ridiculed him. He's been through stuff that you and I just couldn't have survived. And he's come out the other side, and he is amazing. And a lot of people were pretty angry about, especially the part when he said, don't vote, it doesn't matter. But people get mad at me all the time for saying it, too. I absolutely know. And I know this for a fact, folks. I know 2 guys that were programmers at Diebold in Oakland, California, back in the early 2000s, in the late 1999, one of them, the other two in the early 2000s. And I'm telling you, they told me privately, and I didn't ever repeat it because it didn't matter to me back then. Back then it was just, oh, these guys are kind of wacky and whatever. But why they told me, I don't know, except for that I did own a computer company with my ex-husband at the time, and they probably thought it was important to tell somebody. But they told me. And here I am, and it's 15 years later, and I'm finally, just telling you folks, these guys told me point blank, they wrote code for backdoor entry to anybody who had enough money to buy the keys to buy the vote. It's that simple. It's that simple, folks. I mean, I heard this was going on in the late 1999, 2000s, and I'm telling you, I stopped voting. At that point, I stopped voting. And then a few years later, I was listening to Coast to Coast, and the woman came on that her father started Black Vault Box voting or something like that, and she started talking about her investigation into Diebold and all these companies that were writing the codes for all of the programming that was going on with the voting. And she said the same thing. So there's strike number 2. And then years later, I'm sitting at a precinct, and this is oh God, when was this? This was about 13 or 14. I went in there just to figure out what these people were doing there. And I asked a few questions, and I just wanted to know why people were even thinking their vote mattered. And I was doing it as kind of a research project for my radio show. It didn't go anywhere, but it was interesting. So I'm standing there at the precinct, and I'm kind of in the doorway, and I heard a guy that was one of the voting captains or something they called them, the people who are in charge of the voting precinct. He's in the doorway of this room, and I hear him talking to this lady, and he goes, I just don't know why they're not working today. They keep making the wrong vote on the paper. And they're frustrated. They can't figure out what's going on. And what they don't understand, and I knew instantly what was happening, is that every time someone would hit the machine in a certain way, it would prompt it to do something else. And I knew this was going on, and these people were frustrated, but they thought, well, they're just going to turn them all in anyhow because they have to, because that's part of their job. It's not their job to figure out why somebody would say it's not working the way I wanted it to work. And so I'm thinking, oh my God, this is all real. I sit here, guys, and I just shake my head. I'm doing it right now. I'm like, this is all real. This is how blatant these people are. They are so blatant that they can buy computer programmers to get, or companies. They didn't buy the programmers. The programmers were ordered to do it. Okay, so they didn't do it because, they were paid money themselves. Their corporation got millions and millions and millions of dollars to write that code so those guys can get in the back end of that program. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, you've got people that are, I'm not even going to go there. I mean, the black box voting, the lady who did all the research, the people that frustrated at the precinct. You guys, if you don't know that it's all bought and paid for to begin with, then I don't know what I can do to change you, But I can tell you this. Here's the answer. Everybody in America, everybody in a civilized country that votes, what we have to do is we all have to not vote at the same time. And I don't know how to make that happen. That is the only way this is going to change, is if we all said, we're not voting, we're not going to let you guys get in office. If we don't vote for you, you don't have a job. It's that simple. If every single one of us said, no, we're not voting, it's not going to happen, you don't have a job, we're changing the federal government, we're not going to give you the job. So there you go. That's it. That's what we got to do. But nobody's willing to do it. There's so few people on this planet that are willing to just not do something and stand up for their principles. That's the part that makes me frustrated. I don't know about you, Dave, but I get angry every day because I think, God, I'd be the first one out there. I'd be running the flag down the street going, don't vote, if I could get 20 people to follow me.
Well, you know what? Here in Canada, we still count everything by paper.
Well, see, I think that's wonderful. And, I do have to say the state of Oregon has it down. They only have voting electronically. Not electronically. It's only by paper. But what they do is they scan everybody's signature, and nobody can vote twice, and nobody can vote 3 times, and nobody can not vote at all. It's like totally scanned. So I think that, there's a chance it might be actually working, but who knows? That could be a scam too.
See, when we go into a voting booth here, what we do is we have to go up to the table, and it's all documented by your postal code or your zip code down there. And then you have to show your photo ID, and they check you off, make sure you're on the list. And if you're not on the list, you have to go register. But if you are on the list, you walk up to the table, and then they have sections, that say A through D votes in this box. And then they hand you the ticket, and then you drop the ticket in the box. It's very old school, and it works.
Yeah, I like that. Do you think they're actually counting the ballots for real? I mean, do you think
if you saw some of our politicians around here, you would say, yeah, there's no way it's rigged. No way. Honestly.
Well, see, no, I believe you. I totally think it's working up there still. Just by that comment, if you see the people we got down here, you're going, oh my God, murderers, scoundrels, and thieves are getting into office. How is this happening? It's got to be rigged, right? It's just that simple. Treasonous, murderous, horrible people become our presidents. It's just...
you get what you vote for, though. The sad part about it is, if we want to get conspiracy, and I don't want to get too, I like talking politics. I just don't know whether or not I want to continue this on the forum that we call Spaced Out Radio, but we'll go into it a little bit tonight. But one of the things that absolutely baffles me, and I made this comment to you earlier, and I put it in the chat room here, the United States is full of brilliant minds in your 360 million person population, and these are the two best candidates.
I know.
Add to the fact that it has been, for years, Lorien, us conspiracy theorists, and I'm now accepting the fact as I eat my morning Raisin Bran that I am a conspiracy theorist. For years, conspiracy theorists in the United States have been saying the vote is rigged. The vote is rigged. And people are, hogwash, that's crap. You're just put your tinfoil hat back on. That stuff doesn't happen here. This is America. And this year, we learned that not only was the Democratic nomination rigged because Bernie Sanders had more of the popular vote.
That's right.
Okay, but the superdelegates actually were paid off by Hillary. That's fact. Okay,
yep,
number
absolutely.
one. Then we have publicly, on the Republican side, Mittens Romney, because I'm still trying to figure out who the hell names their kid Mittens, okay? Basically going in front of cameras and a microphone saying, we need to rig this so Donald Trump doesn't get in.
Absolutely, yeah. So there you are. Do I have to even say any more? Probably not.
Well, it's ridiculous because here you pride yourself on being the most democratic nation in the world. And you can't screw things up that bad.
I know.
And what they have done with the entire democratic process as they're playing world's police officer all over the place is they've taken, honestly, when I see people online saying, where's Putin when we need him? When you are hoping for Russia to bail you out, America, compared to what it was, say, 30 years ago when the Berlin Walls came down. This is a sad, sad piece of history that we are seeing right now.
It's so true. Guess what? I have another friend that just popped online. Let me see if I can get him to show up on the show. Do you want to be live on air right now? Let's see what he says. We're kind of doing the version of cell phone butt dialing, but we're doing it on Skype right now. This is fun. I haven't had this much fun in a long time, Dave. Thank you so much. Are you still there?
I sure am. No,
good. I thought I'd lost you.
I
lost you.
No, I was coughing. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, no, that's okay. I do that all the time, too. I hit the mute button, and then people are going, where are you? Where are you? I'm like, I'm coughing my brains out, or I'm sipping on my coffee, or, whatever.
Well, I have a question from Bob while you're doing that.
Okay.
Bob is asking about chemtrail spraying. And he is asking, Lorien, do you think aerial chemtrail spraying is playing a part in the alien agenda?
Oh, I would think so. And Dave, oh my God, David Icke did a whole thing on it. It was just absolutely amazing. I believe that there are, My buddy says he can't do it tonight, you guys. He says, too tired, kiddo. He's had a long day, but thanks. So I'm gonna thank him for saying that, and I'm gonna say goodnight to him. Then I'm gonna answer your friend's question there here in a second. Thanks. Talk to you soon. Okay, there we go. All right. As far as what David Icke's opinion about that is, it's very simple, folks. He thinks there's nanoparticles in there that are helping with the transformation of human beings into the transhuman agenda that they have been, the Bilderbergers, the Illuminati, the aliens behind them have been plotting all along. And I have to agree with them. I totally have to agree with them. There is no reason for that to be happening. Everybody says it's to block out the sun's rays, it's to do this, it's to do that. I think there are nanoparticles in the stuff that we're all breathing that's actually changing our physical structure in a very bizarre way. That's my opinion. So you got it.
Do you buy a lot of this stuff that some of these far-out theories like David Icke or people like that are actually saying? Like, where do they come up with this information? This is what blows my mind, because I still think I have more of a mainstream media mind than an alternative media mind, Lorien. And when I hear someone like David Icke or Nick Pope or somebody along those lines, even, when Art and Whitley were going off in the 90s and 2000s about solar flares every second night, where the hell are they getting their information from that makes what they say so credible?
Well, I don't think they're getting it from hard science. Let's put it that way. I think they're getting pieces of it from the hard science guys, and they're correlating it with the kind of psychic abilities they may be getting. I absolutely believe that every contactee has been enhanced in some way so that they can actually be open-minded enough to see things in a different way than most people do on this planet. And I don't know how many contactees there are out there that have been enhanced in this way. And we're probably the first transhumans, right, Dave? I mean, people who have contact were already been transmuted in some way to be able to even accept the fact that there are these types of beings around us. I mean, you, for example, you've seen some extraordinary stuff. Don't you feel that you're a little different now because of your contact?
I do, and I'll tell you, it's been a lot more troubling than
I didn't expect to hear that from you.
No, I'll tell you this. And I've actually been talking with some very intuitive friends of mine about this recently. Lorien, have you noticed that everybody in this field, except for maybe the top 1%, are struggling financially in this?
Absolutely.
And you know what? Before I had my experiences, I was making at my daytime job in my happily boring life more money than I have ever had in my life.
Yep.
And the minute my experiences started, where, it went from paranormal, which was simple, I was still doing great, up until it started getting towards the extraterrestrial side, and my whole financial program that I had set up for myself collapsed.
Isn't that interesting? It happens to every single person who gets involved in this stuff. And I believe, and this is just something I've been figuring out lately, I think this whole transhumanism agenda or whatever, that the people that are contacted by some type of beings, I believe we're actually vibrating at a little bit of a different frequency, and it's a higher frequency. Having said that, I think it brings in the archons, the reptilians, the evil energy, the fear, whatever. It's like a beacon to go straight to us and interfere with everything that keeps us grounded and at a point where we could actually function and make money. And I know that sounds very vague, but what it really boils down to is what happens to us is because of the change, because of us being more open-minded, more loving, more accepting of other realities, other thoughts, other people's, visions and other dimensional beings for that matter. I think it becomes much harder for us to work a regular job because you realize that's a slave job and it's a slave mentality, and in some way you're actually going against your own energies about these jobs. And it's been a very interesting road for me to keep my regular job and make enough money to survive and do what I do. And it's become a real challenge, but I figured it out. I think I've got it, Dave. I've just got to pray real hard. I've got to keep the evil fear off to the side and shield myself from them. And when I get to my job, I have to absolutely become not close-minded, but empty-minded. I know that sounds really stupid, but when I get to my job, I absolutely don't think of anything else except for what I'm doing. And I become very zen, and I block out everything else. And that is the only way I've been able to survive it. And it's a very hard thing to do every day, but I'm finding it becoming easier and easier because the more I do it, the more I realize it's just a meditation. You know, it's a meditation for money. It's a meditation for this. It's an exchange of energy, and I just have to do it. Most people who have our kind of contact, our kind of enlightenment, our kind of, visions or, whatever the heck we've had, they can't function in normal society anymore. Normal society is too difficult for them. It's too mundane. It's too evil. It's got too much fear built into it. And so I think, in a weird way, I think we're sabotaging ourselves away from it. And also I think the fear archons, whatever it is that is out there that doesn't want us to succeed within our open consciousness and in transcending dimensions is drawn to us like moths to a flame because they realize that we're open, so they're coming at us at all angles and they mess with our heads to the point where, it's hard to function. It's hard to have a regular job. So anyhow, that's my opinion. I hope I was clear enough, but that's where I'm at with it. And I totally get it. Everybody I talk to that has become enlightened within this community has a really hard time making money. And it's just very difficult. In other words, what we're really having to do, Dave, is we're all having to come up with ways to make this kind of earthly money in ways that are artistic and fun and feed our passion,
what's funny is I talked to Samantha Mowat about this, and for a young lady, she's wise beyond her years.
She is.
And we were talking about this exact topic a few weeks ago. She goes, well, why don't you ask your guides to help you out? Because when I'm struggling, I say she says to her guides, okay, I need to make this amount of money, and within an hour, her phone starts ringing and she's doing readings or she's helping something out where she's creating revenue. And I'm saying, everything just keeps getting shut out. And I know so many people are like that. Before we continue this talk, I have to go to the Space Out Radio chat room right now, okay, because there is a big war going on in there about bacon. Okay?
What?
There is only one bacon out there. It's not tofu. It is not eggplant. It is not that turkey rip-off stuff. Bacon is bacon. It comes from a pig. And God bless bacon, because bacon is the only staple in a Canadian diet with Bill's maple syrup, I must say. So we're clearing up the bacon thing, too. So just had to get that up.
Here's my big thing in the chat room about food is I want to know what everybody's favorite pie is. We're going off topic now, but I'm telling you, my favorite pie, folks, everybody knows this, is lemon meringue. And if you want to send them to me, you're more than welcome to. I don't know how you're going to get them here, though, because they'll all be all gushy by the time they get here. But I love lemon meringue pie. So.
Well, they're saying bacon pie now. So
bacon pie. God, that sounds kind of interesting. Hey, have you ever tried the Little Caesars pizza with the bacon wrapped all around it?
It's heaven. It's heaven.
I can't believe we're talking about this.
Hey, we've gone from Hillary's ass to Bacon. Why not? It's pretty much the same thing.
Bacon pizza. There we
Exactly.
go.
Exactly.
I love it. I love it. But anyhow, I hope my explanation for whoever was asking the question about money, was it you, Dave? You
Yes.
know, it's such a weird concept because what people don't understand about money is just energy exchange. You know, it may take the form of a piece of paper or a check or electronics or a card or, you know, whatever, but it's really all about giving your time and energy to another person for, you know, for love, basically. And if you look at it that way and you turn it into a love thing, a Zen thing like I do, I think it comes a little easier. You know, it's just not as difficult, you know?
Oh, I fully agree. And you know what? It's nothing. I have no problem doing this show for free or doing whatever I'm doing to get the message out. I rather enjoy it. If my wife didn't allow me to do what I do on a nightly basis, I think we'd go elsewhere. And you know what? Do I have hope? Yeah, I got hope, and I'm curious to see where this goes, if it goes anywhere at all. Because unless you're doing it, you're not going to know.
That's right. Absolutely.
So right now, I'm willing to accept that passion. However, it amazes me, whether they're psychics, whether they're ufologists, whether they're ghost hunters, whether they are cryptid hunters, how much money people are delving into these fields, yet they're getting zero, for the most part, in return. And it scratches my head because here we have literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars being invested accumulatively, okay, by people to try and figure out what the hell is going on, and nothing is coming back in return. It's an amazing, amazing gift for certain people who are putting this together.
Yeah, it is truly. I hear you. Boy, and it's a tough nut to swallow because even people like Richard Dolan, I know they aren't making that much money. They have a lot of books out there, but I'm sure they're not making tons of money, or even Travis with his new movie. I don't think Jennifer and he are making any money. And you know, now that you say that, I'm looking at the top sellers, you know, pretty much in our community, and they're not rolling in dough. You know, so yeah, it's a weird conundrum. I don't know what to say about it. I hate money, to be honest with you. I really do. And I'm surprised daily that I actually get a paycheck, to be honest with you.
So do I. But it's just amazing how it kind of has, for everybody who is in this field, everybody's doing it out of the love and the passion. And realistically, there's only a couple people. Like literally maybe 2 handfuls of people that are truly making a good living off of this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know 2 or 3 of them myself personally, and they're in radio and they're doing very well, but they're it. You know, you're absolutely right. There's just a few. Well, what are we going to do to change that, sweetie? We got to come up with some way to make it all work for all of us so we all have money. You know, and is it really about the money, though? I mean, you know, now that I think about it, I've been doing my radio shows now for about 5 years or so, and I never ever thought about making money at it, you know? It just didn't occur to me. I wouldn't even know what to do if I did.
You know what? For me, I have no problem saying that I would love to make a living off of this, because eventually doing this 5 days a week, 3 hours a night on the air. There's always the hour and a bit prep beforehand. There's always the hour after. So you're looking at 5 hours a night. Eventually, that is going to catch up with me because I work my full-time job. You know, right now.
So you're working 65 hours a week right now.
Well, let's see. My daytime job, I work 9 hours a day, 5 days a week. So 9 times, there's 45 there. And then I put, just for this show on a nightly basis, there's 25 hours right there. So now I'm up to 70 hours a week. And that's not including the time I put together on doing the social media side, prepping my week, writing my blog. Okay, so there's probably another 4 or 5 hours right there. So I'm at about 80 hours a week I work.
So you never sleep?
Oh, I sleep enough. I'll sleep enough when I'll sleep enough when I'm dead. No, and that's but that's the way I've always been. I'll sleep when I'm dead.
Yeah,
right?
I know. Me too. You know, people ask me all the time, what time do you go to bed? Oh, I'm 4, 5, 6 in the morning. What time do you get up? Oh, 10, 11, you know. I mean, it's a constant. I get 4 or 5 hours sleep if I'm lucky, and I'm always moving. And I've always got something I need to be doing. So I totally get it. It's crazy.
But I enjoy it. I enjoy it. And, you know, the fun part for me in doing this, Lorien, is seeing where we started to where we are now. And if we've done that much in 22 months, I'm so curious to see what the next 20 to 22 months would be like.
Yeah, absolutely. I really enjoy Spaced Out Radio. I got to say, you know, I've been doing radio for 5 years now, and you've been doing it a lot longer than I have. And I really, really do enjoy your format. I enjoy your show. You know what I enjoy the most is your stick-to-itiveness about being here every night like clockwork, and you're very dedicated. One of the biggest problems most of these people have out here is they all start these shows, they have great intentions, they get going, and 3 weeks later, oh, the kids are sick. Well, I'm going to cancel my show tonight, you know, and then a couple of weeks later, something else happens. Oh, I'm going to cancel the show tonight. And then next thing you know, they're canceling it 3 nights a week. And then pretty soon the show isn't there anymore. And people have no idea how much work it is to do these type of shows and the dedication it takes. I mean, I am so dedicated to being there. And as most of the people know at Revolution Radio, I can't be there all the time lately. I've been in like Los Angeles with the David Icke event. I had to do my TV show was filming on Monday, and I couldn't get to my show. But I always have JP cover for me. You know, I always have a backup, and I always tell people I'll be back in 2 weeks. You know, I'm never going to abandon them. But you know, it really is. It's a dedication, and you've got to have that built in. If you don't have it, then I don't know what to tell you. And just don't start a show, folks, because I'll tell you, it's a lot of work and it is truly dedication. So, you know, kudos to you for doing it. And one of the things that makes us very different than a lot of other people in the field by having these shows, you know, because I'm some type of contactee. We don't know what I am. We know you're definitely a contactee. What makes us different is I grew up as a professional dancer, and you had to be at your dance classes every morning. It was very disciplined. You had to do, you know, exactly what you had to do, 6 days a week, and you had to prepare for shows, and you had things to do that were very competitive and at the same time very dedicated to that schedule. And my sister was a professional gymnast. She had the same type of scheduling. She became a doctor. I mean, I think people who get that kind of dedicated scheduling as a teenager or a child actually learn discipline very well, and they understand that things don't happen unless you show up for them. And that's a huge thing. A lot of people in our culture aren't getting that anymore. Have you noticed that? They just don't understand the dedication, the discipline that it takes to do things. And I think that's one of our other biggest problems on this planet is people have no dedication or discipline anymore.
Well, it also has people coming in and they automatically think they're going to be the next Coast to Coast, or they're going to be the next Howard Stern, or they're going to be the next whoever. They're not.
Yep.
As I say to a lot of people, you know, when they ask me about this show, I say there's a real big difference between creating radio and playing radio. And there's too much play on there right now. That's what I have noticed. And you know what, call me a jerk, call me arrogant, call me whatever you want. You know, my experience with being in the mainstream radio, switching over to alternative radio, which we are doing now, it is a huge difference between playing radio where, you know, you get somebody, well, I'm going to get Stanton Friedman, I'm going to get Linda Moulton Howe, I'm going to get Dr. Stephen Greer, I'm going to get Whitley Strieber.
Right. I know exactly what
they're
you're
not
saying.
looking for you.
Yeah.
They're not looking for you. You know what I'm saying? And what we've done, and you know, when I started out, I figured, okay, I was kind of testing this show with, you know, when I first 7, 8, 9 months when I was doing this show, I figured, okay, what do I have to do in order to compete or to try and get that name out there? And you have to, whether you love it or not, or love George or love Art back in the day or not, you have to compare everything to Coast. They're the granddaddy of them all.
Absolutely.
They're the grand poobah. So what I did was I started saying, okay, how many guests a month can I get on this show that have done Coast? Because that's the epitome. My first month on the air, I had 15.
Yep. Exactly.
You know, and that's how you build it. And you then all of a sudden you start listening to your audience more, because I don't think a lot of people actually take the time to listen to the audience. And when we started listening to the audience would tell me, and I would ask them periodically, person here, person there. They know who they are. Who do you want to hear? Who do you not? Who are you sick of? And the names they are sick of, I'm not going to go over them, but I just have no interest in inviting them in the show. They want new people. They want new experiences. Right. They don't want the same story that's rehashed over and over again the last 25, 30 years, but maybe a word changed here or there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You know, I think that's what makes my show and your show very unique is I give everybody a chance. I mean, like Ward. Ward's a great example of somebody who he emailed me after a show one night when I had somebody that nobody knew about on. He said, I don't know if you'd be interested in this. And he's very humble. And he said, and I said, sure, I'm interested. Let's just throw you on the air. I mean, how many other people do that besides somebody like you or me? You know, nobody else wants to take a chance of it turning into a big disaster, right? But see, the other thing about it is, Dave, you're very intuitive. I believe I'm very intuitive. And when we get the people on there that have these stories to tell, we're able to just kind of bring it out of them we can get things out of them that I think a lot of other radio talk show hosts, and I don't mean any disrespect to anybody else out there who has a radio show, folks, but, you know, the bottom line is you've got to really be in the moment and understand what your guest is, what you need to get out of them. You got to help them. You've got to be their little voice that helps them talk about things and feel comfortable. When I first started, I thought to myself, well, what can I do to make them feel so comfortable that they'll sit there and just forget that they're on a radio show? And that is the one thing that I pride myself on, Dave, is that every one of my guests that comes on my show always says to me, when can I come back? And you made me forget where I was, and it was the best time I've had in a long time. And I really pride myself on that. And, you know, people like Lynn Buchanan, who's been on a million shows, he basically told me the other day, he goes, I'm not doing very many more radio shows, but if you ever want me, Lorien, I'll be on there anytime. And I love him for saying that to me. He says, I've never had such a good time as I've had on your show. And he says, I found myself revealing things I'm not even supposed to be talking about. Live on air because I forgot I was on a radio show and I wasn't just talking to you. And see, to me, that is the biggest compliment any radio talk show host can have. Do you agree?
My favorite compliment that I have gotten, and I usually get it once a week or so, is I've never been asked that before. Out of all the interviews I've done, I've never been asked that before. I love that one.
Oh, that's cool too. See, you're the more intellectual person in it. I feel like I'm more like the motherly figure in this, and they just forget. You know, they start talking to me like they're talking to their sister, or, you know, whatever, and they just forget what they're doing, and then they go, "Oops, I'm going to be arrested tomorrow." Which is kind of funny because I'm like, well, you said all these things before. Oh no, I never said that. I'm like, oh great, I just got somebody in trouble. But yeah, no, I think it's really cool that you're doing that. You know, I've never gotten that one before. No one's ever said to me I was smart enough to ask them something they'd never been asked before. But good for you.
Hey, let's get to a topic here rather than bullshit about you and me all night, because we could probably do that for another couple hours. Are you buying into this whole Mandela effect thing?
I don't know. If one more person asks me about that, I think I'm going to be sick, to be honest with you. Now, but I will say this to everyone out there. I'm putting on Time Travel Con. It's coming up on November 13th. If you're anywhere on the West Coast, I would highly recommend you come to it. And the reason why is because in all of the things that have happened to me, I don't know what to call them. The last one that happened to me that was very profound was I was waking up from one of my contacts with whatever beings contact me. And how they do it, folks, it's very simple. They vibrate the upper part of my body. to a different frequency generation field. I don't know what it is. All I know is it feels like there's bees, little tiny microscopic bees under my skin. And now that I think about it, this is just so weird. I just realized maybe they're my nanoparticles all just going off at once. God, I never thought about that before. That's an interesting concept. I'll have to check into that. But anyhow, it feels like there's little tiny microscopic bees buzzing my whole skin underneath my epidermis. And it feels like I'm humming, and it's really bizarre, and it only happens when I'm asleep and then when I'm waking up, and I've woken up in that state, so I know it must be happening while I'm sleeping too. But anyhow, they send me these visions. They're like full-blown movie visions, and the last one I got was about, well, I'm going to go back to the first part of it. The first one I got was about a year ago, and they sent me a picture of a spider web, and it had all these words on it, and they were all connected. And they said that at the end of all the words, in the center of this is this orange, reddish, glowing thing. Turns out to be kind of a torrid type thing. And they said, "Love is the key." And I said, "Oh, that's interesting. Thanks a lot," and rolled over and went back to sleep. So about 4 months later, they woke me up again with the same vision hitting me in the head. And this time they turn it on its side. They add 2 more layers to it. It becomes a square. Then it becomes a circle. And then it's 3 layers. And then it all turns into this giant torrid of a spider web in a torrid. I can't explain it to you folks. And then it has this red thing in the middle again. And I hear, "Love is the key." And then they say to me right after that, and then the whole thing kind of explodes. The whole thing falls away and explodes on itself. And they said, "Time travel is the answer." I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I went over, again, I fell back asleep again. But having said that, what I'm starting to believe is that we are not always in one dimension all the time. The people that are waking up, the people that are having a really amazing consciousness, are absolutely able to switch dimensions, even if it's only a nano dimension in time space, so that they can affect and change the other things around them. And it's not enough that, the houses aren't there anymore when you pull out the driveway in the neighborhood, or that, like Back to the Future, where you've changed your future and your kid's future and what have you. But it's just enough that you're vibrating in a little bit of a different frequency, just a little bit different time zone. Everybody else is kind of going in and out of it as well. And I think that's what everybody's calling this Mandela effect, because I'm starting to see that so many people are not understanding stories from your past when you're hanging out with them that aren't changing their consciousness as you are. For example, I have a sister. She doesn't remember some of the things I remember. So there you are. There's a Mandela effect right there. And my mother doesn't remember things I remember. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe it's because they weren't actually experiencing it. Maybe this is a different time zone and for them, and I'm in a different space. I hope I'm making sense, Dave, but that's how I'm starting to look at it all. I haven't come to any answer about that theory about the Mandela effect, but I think that might be close enough to an answer for it.
You know what resonated with me with what you just said on a personal level is when you said the pulsating square and then the circle.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. When I had my first when I had that UFO landing 150 yards away from me 5 days before I met Samantha Mowat, I had a migraine. And that migraine started off as a square in the front of my head, pulsating, moved to the right side of my head as a triangle pulsating, before it moved over to the left side of my head as a circle pulsating. And when that subsided, I was hit with extreme anxiety that I had to go outside right now. Like right this moment, I was heading outside. And when I went outside and I said, "Where are you?" Boom. There it lit up the entire area. And you are only the second person that I have talked to who has had that shape pulsation in their head?
Yeah, well, I didn't bring up much about that, but I have told you, I think I told you this in the past, I had a very vivid dream one night, and now that I look back on it, it was really quite funny. I was at a friend's house the night before, and he was talking to me about this guru that he knew. And I went home, and I had this very profound, memorable dream. I'm not going to go into the whole thing right now, but what they taught me in the dream is that the circle, the square, and the triangle were the keys to our future. And don't ask me, I don't remember any of it. It's like they gave me all these answers, Dave, and it was like so profound. I wake up and I knew the answers to the universe. And then within 30 seconds, it faded away. And I was basically told, you can't remember this now, it's for later. Okay? So I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. But I was so angry because what I thought happened was I thought this guy had invaded my dream space, because he had told me that there were symbols involved in his guru, and he didn't tell me what they were. So I got on the phone. I know this is so dumb of me. I got on the phone and I called him and I cussed him out for invading my dream space. Can you believe it? At that point in time, this is a long time ago, and I had no idea what all this stuff was going on with me. This was long before 2011. And I called this poor man up, and I'm just like, don't you ever come in my dreams again. And I don't care about it. I just went on and really read him the riot act for invading my dream time. Anyhow, but yeah, the circle, the square, and the triangle definitely are an amazing thing. And also, did you know that Peter Maxwell Slattery down in Australia, one of his major contacts, this woman that appears to him, her outfit that she wears like a spandex jumpsuit. It has circles, squares, and triangles all over it in these neon patterns, and they glow and they dance around on the fabric.
That is just tripping me out hearing that, because I never really put two and two together, because you're really the first person who I've talked to about this. I've mentioned it numerous times on the air, and even when I've been a guest on other shows, I have mentioned that. But, I've always tried to figure out what that was about.
Well, and I believe that this thing they make, when they take the circle, the square, and the triangle, and they put it all together, it's actually, it's three-dimensional, and it's some kind of force field that may be surrounding us. It could be the molecule for God. That was the other thing I got to thinking about the other day, was maybe this is all really what we're all made out of, is these force fields of all these combined together. These molecules of God, this AI system that may be in a grid pattern around the planet, around the universe, around everything that lives. And heck, what do we know is between atoms? We got a nucleus, and we've got the outer shell, and we've got all the space in between. Maybe it's full of these, tiny, tiny circles, triangles, and squares all put together, making the universe. I don't know. But I'm telling you, it's profound. Whatever it is, why would these entities be giving it to Maxwell Slattery? Why would they be giving it to you? And why would they be giving it to me? That's what I want to know about. And I know there's others, because I've talked to Jason Quidd about this, and he has had the same spider web experience, and the same kind of torrid with the circle, square, and triangle experience himself. And I ran into another lady who's had this kind of experience. There's not a lot of us, but there's enough of us that it's very interesting. Anyhow, guess who's online?
Oh, Robert Stanley. Look at that.
Yeah. A little late, but that's okay.
We only got like 4 minutes, 5 minutes left.
Yeah,
so.
We'll just tell him next time. But you got to have him on your show.
I will.
Let him know.
I will do that. Speaking of shows, is there anybody you would never have on your show?
I can't tell you that.
Without going into names.
Yes, there's a lot. There are a bunch of people I'd never have on my show. And the reason why, folks, is because I'm not saying this pridefully. I don't even know what the right word would be. I try to pride myself on having integrity, and there's a lot of things I know about a lot of people in this business that I have personally experienced as a conference producer, and I will never have these people on my show because of their personal behaviors. It's not because that their writings aren't that good or their research isn't that good or this or that. It's just that they're despicable people. And I do not like them. And I don't think it's in my best interest to promote them. Now, and I'm going to get myself in a lot of trouble. I'm going to say something I've never said on air before, but there are a lot of producers out there that don't care. They turn their back on the fact that these people are despicable human beings because it makes them a buck. And that's what sets me aside when I tell you guys on my show, I don't do this to make money. I absolutely don't do it to make money. I do it to get the truth out as these people see it and as I think it needs to be out there. And there's a lot of producers in the business that all they care about is a buck, and they will put despicable, horrible human beings out there to tell you a tale just to make $1. So there you are. So anyhow, that's me, and I'm telling you guys the truth right now.
One of the things that I have had, and I've mentioned this on this show a couple of times, and I never say the person's name, but when I send out, like, give you an example, right now we are booked solid right until December 2nd. So cool. Obviously, being 8 weeks, almost 10 weeks in advance, we're doing something right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And there are certain people I will not have on the air. And one of these people, he goes by Doctor. When I emailed him to come on the show, his assistant got back to me, not hi, how are you, or thanks for the request, or anything along those lines. The first question was, how many listeners do you have?
What?
Yeah. First line on the email was, how many listeners do you have?
Oh, my God.
And I thought right then and there, you're not about the message, you're about putting money in your pocket.
You know what? I gave Robert the wrong time. Oh, dear.
That's okay. I've already chatted with him already while you were yapping.
Oh, okay, there we go. Okay, so sorry about that. Sorry, folks. I was trying to do 3 things at once, and I need a producer, Dave. I need a producer. And you're absolutely right about people who ask you how many listeners you have, because honestly, then it's all about their ego. It's never about what's the truth. So, I totally get it. I get you for not putting them on, and thank you for that.
Well, you know what? At some point, whether you're big or whether you're small, you have to draw the line somewhere.
That's right. That's right. And I have a lot of detractors that say, Lorien, you should be doing blah, blah, blah. And you know what? I'm just me. And I'm happy just being me. And if it gets me somewhere, great. If it doesn't, I don't care either. And I think that's the most important thing, don't you, Dave? Is that you don't let your ego become the thing when you're doing the shows. You just actually do it because you love it and you're doing it.
I don't think you can. I don't think you can, and that's one thing that I've personally told my listeners. If I become an asshole, let's say this thing takes off, and I become an asshole, feel free to let me have it. Feel free. Yeah. Because that's not where I started, and that's definitely not where I want to be.
Yep, I absolutely agree with you. And I've had a lot of people tell me that there are points in my career so far in the last 4 or 5 years where I've gotten a little full of myself, and I agree with them. I have moments where I think I'm the cat's meow for a day, and I can't do that. I can't do that. I'm trying very hard to be very humble, and I try every morning to pray deeply, and just make sure that the world is a better place all around. That's all you can do. If you become the focus, then you've lost. You've lost the battle, because that's what they want you to do. That's what the Bilderbergers, the Illuminati, the aliens, that's what everybody out there who wants to control you and control your mind, the mind control community, that's what they want. They want you to think that you're the center of the universe. And when the minute you step into that bubble, they've got you, because then they control the bubble. So, it's crazy. You got to be careful.
It is. And I think that's the reason why I've always been so hesitant on joining these so-called networks or joining, these so-called groups, because you just never know who you are playing with. And it's just so much easier and so much more fun when you can be a little bit rogue.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, we're the rogue team. I love that. So anyhow, well, I hope everybody out there gets to my conferences. You can find out more about me at LorienFenton.com. That's LORIEN Fenton.com. Do have to do a little ego plug there once in a while. And Time Travel Con is going to be coming up November 13th, and that's going to be a lot of fun. If you're on the West Coast, get to that. John Teeter, too, is going to be there with his wife, Marcia. It's going to be quite interesting. And I have Sean David Morton's going to be there. He's going to be talking about his time travel experiences with Fred Bell, which is going to be quite extraordinary, I got to say.
And you have one of ours coming to your conference.
I do. Samantha Mowatt's going to be at UFO Con in March of 2017. It's the 24th, 25th, and 26th down near San Jose, California. And she is going to she's going to be a stunner for us this year. I'm absolutely sure of it. And hopefully, Dave, I hope you can make it down there too, because I'd really love to have you doing broadcasting from there.
I would love to. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do my best.
Well, we're going to, if we have to, maybe we should do a fundraiser here on the network for you to get down there, because all your peeps would want to meet you down in California.
Well, you know what? It would be fun in the sun. And anytime I got the chance to, spread the love, I would do that. But we'll see where it goes. Lorien, you hold on. I'm going to wrap this thing up, because it's that time of the night. We got Bumblefoot playing in the background on the Spaced Out Radio side. Revolution Radio, you don't get that part. It's too bad, because our resident guitar god rocks us in and out of every show. I want to say thank you. Tomorrow night, Linda Godfrey, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern time. We're talking Dogman at spacedoutradio.com, and we will be there with you. If you want to catch this episode or others, you can go to TuneIn. You can listen to us on our YouTube channel, or you can download us on iTunes. It's all free. We do it for you. Thanks to everyone who is participating tonight. Bacon is a staple in one's diet, even for you vegans. Take that. I'm on that. We'll talk to you tomorrow night, exactly 21 hours from now. I'll be hopped up. You be hopped up. Let's do this thing together. I look forward to it. Much love to you all. I'm out of here.